Ganium or like the worst thing they can do is keep it the same type. Like I think what makes Mega Ampharos so cool is it gets the dragon type. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 659th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Hannah.
Hello, hello. I hope everyone enjoyed Pokemon Day.
Me too. Bobby also here.
Hello. I am honored to be here with the Pokemon Prophet himself.
A pretty good track record for these things. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about today, and we're gonna try to get through as much as possible. I'm just gonna give you guys a disclaimer. I don't think we're going to get through everything. So if your favorite thing in the entire world is Pokemon Concierge, and we did not spend enough time to talk about Pokemon Concierge, I promise you we have a long time before a lot of this stuff comes out, and we will definitely have more time to talk about in the future. We try to keep these episodes 90 minutes. That has not worked in the past. That continues never to work. The only way that works is when I have to pay for a studio and the studio is forcefully kicking us out because our time is up. So we're gonna try our best to get through everything. There was a lot for Pokemon Day. We're gonna try to get through all the little stuff in the first segment, and then the second segment we're gonna talk about Pokemon Champions. No one saw that game coming. I don't know, maybe except for this podcast. And then after that, we're going to talk about Z-A. And then anything else we didn't get to, we have our bonus section for people who are on Patreon or Apple Podcasts, which hopefully by the time this episode goes up should be fixed because Apple finally got back to me. After asking multiple times what the issue is, even though I've told them multiple times what they caused this issue to me, and I had to explain that they're the only ones that can fix it. They're like, what was the error you got again?
Hopefully now it works.
Yes, yeah, hopefully not. I'm so sorry to all my Apple Podcast listeners who want the ad-free longer version. When I say Apple Podcast, I don't mean you're listening on an Apple device. I mean you're using the subscription built inside Apple Podcast, which you can get a free trial of. But I don't know if it'll work by the time this goes. Hopefully it does. They just sent me an email the other day saying it should work now, and I was like, okay.
So wait, it was broken for all Apple Podcasts, not even just in the EU? Because I know it was like an EU issue.
Yes, for all. So yeah, EU passed a law where you have to like verify who you are, so you're not scamming people on Apple Podcasts, which exists already in the like App Store, but now they want to do it for like other parts of Apple products. So because the EU passed that law and I couldn't verify, my legal name is not PokemonCast.
Shocking.
So when I originally made my account in Apple like 7 years ago, I just put PokemonCast as my name.
Why?
Because it didn't ask for any of that stuff. It never asked for your social security number, your address. It didn't. When you made your account, it didn't ask for any of that. And then as Apple Podcast started adding stuff, it was like, okay, we need your social security number so we can like pay you for if somebody subscribes. And then the EU passed a law saying we need proof that it's you, so you need to upload your driver's license. And so when I did that, it was like, wait a minute, you're not Pokemon Cast, you're Steve Sarumi. Then I had to get a new account. It was a mess.
Wow.
Speaking of a mess, that was a bad transition. Then, like Pokemon Day wasn't really a mess. Let's just kind of run through what we got. So, Pokemon Day opened with Concierge. I don't think this was a surprise to anyone since we knew Concierge was coming. They said that will be exclusively on Netflix in September of this year, and there will be more episodes. And I think the only two Pokemon we saw in Concierge was like Shinx and Luxray. And yeah, I think you guys liked Concierge more than I did. I think both of you did.
Oh, you didn't like Concierge, or?
No, I thought it was like, I just thought it was fine. Like just borderline fine. When I say fine, I feel like people think it's, if it was bad, I would say it was bad. I like using the word bad.
I don't know why I went straight to like, oh, you didn't like it as much as us? You must have hated it. Like,
Right, yeah. No, that is our YouTube comments. It's like if I say something's fine, they're like, oh my God. No, I
Yeah.
thought it was fine. I didn't hate it. I would watch it again. I just didn't like love it compared to some of the other Pokemon media I've seen.
yeah. Yeah. I think what I liked, I mean, I liked it in the fact that it was just, I don't know, it was cute. It was laid back. It was different. But then like my kids also liked it, which was cool. So it was, I
Nice.
mean, not that they don't like other Pokemon stuff, but like, yeah,
Your
it was
kids
nice
thought
that
it was
like,
fine. They hated it.
yeah. But I do appreciate that I believe it's all first 4 episodes are going to be up on, if not already, on their YouTube channel. So you don't have to subscribe to Netflix right now to.
Well, they're up on their YouTube channel right now until March 9th. So
Okay.
for
so
about
you
a
have
week
you
from
have
the
a time
time this
limit.
episode comes out.
You have a time limit, but
Hannah just hit you with the well, actually.
It's
No,
important.
it's-
If you
it's
want to see
necessary.
it and you don't have Netflix, go watch it now.
It's
I didn't know
necessary.
that. I didn't know
It's
that. I
necessary.
did see it was on YouTube, but I didn't know that there was
It was
a
in the
time limit.
presents.
Yeah. I
Okay,
was probably
well-
yapping about Shinx or something, and I missed it.
So that's, yeah, good to know. So if you aren't subscribed to Netflix, and now until March 9th, go watch Pokemon Concierge so you can get it without having to subscribe.
It is very cute. If you have time and haven't seen it yet, even if you just sort of put it in the background as you are playing matches in Pocket or playing some event on any day in Pokemon Go, it is a very cute little Pokemon thing that is enjoyable, I think, especially for adults, I think. It's a cool thing. It's not
Yeah.
the same as the Pokemon anime, which is very geared towards kids specifically. I feel like Concierge can be more widely enjoyed
Yeah.
at just because the main character is an adult and so the experience is different from like I enjoy the anime too.
Well, the experience, it reminds me of like, well, it makes me think if you work like a 9 to 5 office job and you're like, oh, gotta go into the office again every day. I feel like this is like a person who like escaped from that and went
Yeah.
to like this resort to work. Like
It is.
at
Yeah.
and so
That's
it's
how
like,
it starts. It's
yeah,
very
you can
cute.
you can definitely, I think, relate to that in some ways. If you have that feeling, but yeah, it is very cute. And the episodes are only about like 15-ish minutes each. You can get through all 4 of them in like an hour. So it's not like an hour each or half hour each. It's they're shorter episodes.
The second thing they showed in the presents was Pokemon Go. Unova Tour was happening that weekend. They showed a promo code, and then they hinted at the next season, which was the Urshifu season, I guess is the best way I can summarize it.
There's a name for it. Do
Something
any
of
of us
mastery.
remember it?
Something of mastery.
Might and Magnificent or something.
Mastery. Something about mastery. Right?
Oh, Might and Mastery. Which makes sense because
I like the Urshifu season better. I wish that was the official name.
Well, to speculate a little bit, I think that doesn't the Urshifu season takes us into like summer.
It would be March,
Basically,
April,
yeah.
March,
May.
April,
So
May,
May.
and then the summer
Yeah.
season will start. So this is our lead up to summer. The question is like, when do we see Gigantamax Urshifu raids? Because those should be the first 7-star raids in Pokemon Go. They should
Yeah.
be because they're legendary Gigantamax, whereas like Kingler, Blastoise, Charizard are 6-star Gigantamax raids. Now, the only difference between Gigantamax and Dynamax is 4 people, Gigantamax is 40, but ideally, I mean, if you look at like Zapdos, Moltres, Articuno, which are 5-star legendary raids, they are somebody who probably done more raids than all of our people in Slack combined, at least the Dynamax raids. I promise you I've done a lot. I did find that the 5-star raids could fall apart a lot quicker than any other of the raids because you only have 3 other people to rely on. I don't think they're like...
Because
I
they
don't
are
wanna-
strong and you don't have a lot of people.
Right, yeah, they are strong. Like I remember there was one Moltres raid where I joined, and then the three people next to me all died instantly, and then their next Pokemon came in, all died instantly, and I just backed out. I was like, "There's no way to win this."
Well,
Yeah.
when you raid with 3 people using Sobbles, then that's gonna happen.
But at least in Gigantamax, you could have that same experience, right? I could join, and then the 3 people next to me die right away or faint right away. But at least there might be other teams of 4 that are not doing that and holding that down, where you're just like, I hope everyone like there is no hope in a 5-star raid. You're watching it fall apart right before you. So I don't know. Again, speculation. I don't know if Urshifu is good enough for like a Go Fest. Go Fest is their big event. So like you have some possibilities of Go Fest this year of being like Mega Mewtwo, or maybe Crown Form Zacian or Zamazenta, which ideally you would think that Crown Form Zacian Zamazenta would be stronger against like a 7-star Urshifu or something. But those 2 Pokemon can't specifically Dynamax, so you won't be able to hit that Dynamax button.
What was last year's Go Fest? It was the Fusion Necrozma.
It was Duskmane Necrozma and Dawn Wings Necrozma.
Okay.
So what is the big Go Fest thing? Megas might make sense. The Mewtwo button can always be pressed. We know the Mewtwo button is very powerful.
Yeah, I was thinking they could go all the way to Calyrex fusions, like for Go Fest, something like that. Another fusion based, the last fusion based Pokemon, right? So they could finish that out if they wanted to. But Megas with Z-A around the corner, that could be something that's enticing as well. So
yeah,
potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I think the question is Urshifu good enough for a Go Fest?
I feel like Urshifu should be good. I like Urshifu and Cubfu a lot. I think that they should, in my opinion, they're good enough for a Go Fest.
As they are legendary Pokemon with Gigantamax forms, you would think they would be, but I don't think people know about them enough. I don't think people like them enough.
I think you definitely know about them if you played competitive, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad world we live in.
And I'm actually only noticing now that the Go Fest dates actually span seasons in game. That this season that is just starting, the season of Might and Mastery, ends after the first Go Fest and before the second and third Go Fests.
I forgot Go Fest is early this year. That's right.
Yeah, it is early this year.
They moved him up because of the sun.
Well, then I think then maybe I wouldn't see Megas being as much of a thing, because I was thinking a later Go Fest, like later Go Fest date. But if it's as early as like May, June, then maybe they would stick to like Gigantamax Urshifu at that point. Or
hear me out. Mega Camerupt and Mega Sharpedo debuting at Go Fest. That is.
There we go. That's the winning ticket.
That's
possible.
That's why they've been holding those 2 back.
All right, your prediction, don't go off the rails here, Steve. Your predictions have been good in the past. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away for.
I don't want to throw away my good track record.
For Camerupt and Sharpedo.
Not even the best water, not the best fire, not the best ground, not the best dark.
You went from it could be Mega Mewtwo to it could be Mega Camerupt and Mega Sharpedo.
I am still disappointed. And I think people would agree with me. I think I am still disappointed that they went so hard on Team Rocket, and at no point in the last like 6 years they were like, here's Team Aqua and Team Magma, and they have different Pokemon, or they do something slightly different, or here's like Team Plasma, and they have different Pokemon. They just gave everything to Team Rocket, and I get that Team Rocket is the most recognizable, but like just replace the models, just replace teach your audience that there's different. Your audience knows, like your audience is not dumb. Like,
it's not. I mean, they obviously did the Jesse and James thing. Giovanni's obviously the boss, but like it's Team Go Rocket, right? So it's not even, it's like, I know they're using Rocket as like, because Rocket's the most well-known, I think the most well-known of the like enemies, but like they're
It's the
trying
one
to
they're allowed to have.
tried to do their own like version. It's like the Go
It's not
Safari
that they tried
ball.
to do their own. I'm sure they were told they had to do their own.
Sure.
Yeah,
Whatever
sure.
it may be. In this case, I'm not breaking between like Pokemon Company and Niantic. I'm just saying like for the game, it tried to have its own version of a bad of a villain or whatever, right? So it's like, and they just use Rocket as like because it's the most well known, I think. So
Yeah,
I
but
almost
clearly they've been holding back Camerupt and Sharpedo specifically. These are
Right.
the two that are tied to Team Aqua and Team Magma. I think that at some point there were probably plans to do something with that, and I'm just not sure there are anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
maybe.
I 100% agree with Hannah. I'm sure they wanted to do something thematic, and here we are. Now they're just left over, and when they release, if they release like normal, they will be like, oh, this is
Yeah.
just Dex filler.
I just mean like it's not like we haven't seen the other like groups of, quote unquote like villains throughout in other ways, like with costumes and things like that. We get the costume, like we
Yeah.
get the clothing of those. So it's like they are popping up in game in certain ways. I just feel like as far as like these Rocket battles, they're so specific to like, oh, this is our own like villain. It's the Go Rocket team. Like I feel like that's why it wouldn't be changing from time to time.
Yeah, no. Like Hannah said, I'm sure they had some big plans, and those got moved aside. Funny enough, I sent you guys like a TikTok of a Niantic employee, an old Niantic employee, who was like, I was working on a lot of cool things, and then they said no, and I don't work for Niantic anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
But that's not to like pick on Niantic. I've been
No.
in that situation. I've worked a 9 to 5 where I was working on a bunch of cool things, and all of a sudden it was like, no, you don't need to work on that anymore. We're going in a completely different direction. And I was like,
that's
Yeah.
that's not a Niantic complaint. That's a corporation complaint.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the American dream, they call it.
That video was also pretty clear that it was an influence from the Pokemon Company as well.
Oh yeah,
One of the
yeah.
reasons that things were getting shut down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, if you want to hear more of those thoughts, that was the bonus part of last week's episode, was me yapping about the Pokemon Company and Niantic's relationship. Speaking of Team Aqua and Team Magma, Shiny Primal Groudon and Shiny Primal Kyogre coming to Pokemon Masters.
Yeah, when this part of the present started, I thought that maybe they actually were going to do something with Team Aqua and Team Magma and Go. I thought that that's what that was. I was actually a little bit excited, and then it was Masters.
Oh, I thought that was just, the Gen 3 remakes that we just throw out every year. Again,
They're cool.
They are cool. They look great. Here's the biggest news. The biggest news of the entire Presents, and no one is talking about this. That's why we need to. Cafe Remix, still a game.
I downloaded it again and I played it for the last couple of days, and then I deleted it again because it's just not. It's so cute, but it's not worth like everything you have to do to get to that 60-second game that you play. It's not worth it.
The art style is very good.
It is.
The game barely exists.
You spin in a circle and match things.
Yeah.
They should just make Gen 10 in the style of Cafe Remix. I think we would all be okay with that. Just cute
Sure.
cafe-ish.
Yes.
Pastel colors. The news is Flapple and Appleton are coming to Cafe Remix. I don't want to get too off on a tangent, but I don't think people know this. Cafe Remix is made by Genius Sonority, the people who made Coliseum and Gale of Darkness. It's that team. And you would think, or one of the things that happens every Pokemon Day is, when are we going to get Gale of Darkness or Coliseum remakes? And I get it. people have nostalgia for those games. I think if there was an easy or accessible way to play those games now, you would probably realize they're not very good. They're as much as people say that Sword and Shield or any other Pokemon game is a hallway simulator. Colosseum and Gale of Darkness were the original hallway simulators, to the point where you can't even take 2 steps from a battle to then get put into another battle because a grunt will drop down from the ceiling and then be like, I need a double badge of you with my Lotad and Glameow. Like, no, I just did this again. And you're just like, you're just so limited on the Pokemon that you can actually catch and use, and like it doesn't actually feel like there's a lot of variety when you replay. I get it though. I get it. You probably grew up with it. You love it. Let me say one nice thing about those 2 games. Banger soundtrack. Some of the best music in the entire franchise. Just great. But now they're working on Cafe Remix, and that's doing something. But I also do feel like that ship has slightly sailed. Like it's at least left the pier. And I say that because James Turner no longer works at the Pokemon Company. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it would almost be a disservice to James and everything he's done to be like, we're going to remake these games that you spent so much time on, but now you're not even here anymore. It almost feels like James leaving that, like, I feel like if anyone was to push for it, it would have been James.
Are we back in the predictions episode? This is not a thing that's happening.
No, I just want to remind everyone that the company that made Gale of Darkness and Colosseum is the company making Cafe Remix. That's in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
And James Turner, the one that probably cares about it the most because he does little doodles from time to time on Twitter about it. He just no longer works at the company.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know. In other related Cafe Remix news, the drink that they introduced, like the Appleton jelly soda drink that's in the game. I don't know dates. Sorry, I don't know dates. But if you get a reservation to like the Pokemon Cafe in Japan, you can actually order that real drink. They have like a real version of that, like Appleton jelly soda. So nice. If you are going to the Pokemon Cafe, I don't know. Maybe look it up and see if it'll be available while you're there, because it is something you can order now.
It is called the Appleton Fruitalicious Jelly Soda.
There you go. Fruitalicious. Love it.
Fergilicious?
No.
Oh, okay. Pokemon Unite showed off Suicune, Alolan Raichu, and Alcremie. Those are the next 3 Pokemon coming. And the first to 500 mode is now in the game, which, we talked about this like 2 weeks ago, that I feel like so many people forgot the first to 500 mode even existed. And I was like, no, this should be coming for Pokemon Day. Like they did say early next year. Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten a chance to play it. I don't know how different it was from when I originally played it in August. The big difference is I can't read. I couldn't read the game when I played it. It was in a different language, so I can read it now, and I can see the effects and stuff. But I was just kind of pressing buttons when I was on stage. I was like, I can't read any of this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So that Unite stuff came. I don't know if you look. They put a leather wearing Blaziken in the game, and that was not enough for Hannah. I don't know if Alolan Raichu or Alcremie is bringing Hannah back at least.
Not me. I would go back and play Blaziken, but it's not a favorite game of mine. I enjoy it when I'm playing it with friends. That just doesn't happen often. I think that's the general sentiment about the game.
Yeah. I think the best thing about Unite is there is a Psyduck wearing a pink suit with pink sunglasses. And I will go on record that is the best costumed Pokemon that I have ever seen. But other than that, yeah.
I do want to go back and play this new mode. Last time I played Unite was like a month ago, And I had a great time. I really did. And then I stopped thinking about it when I stopped playing it. Like when I'm in it and I'm playing it, I'm enjoying it. But I don't like feel the urge of like, oh, I need to squeeze in a match of Unite tonight. I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's fine. I would say Unite is fine. I would call Cafe Remix a bad game though. I will I will say it's very cute. We all knew this was coming because the advertisement for this on TikTok like leaked like 2 days early, where you could like see that Arceus is coming to Pokemon TCG Pocket. That set is out. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the set itself right now. We'll probably save that for post show or for next week. But they did give everyone those 3 booster packs that I saw. That was maybe a rumor where I keep saying star. I said this last week, and I think I said the week before. I don't mean to say that because there is no 4-star. I don't know why. I guess I'm not used to saying the word diamond, so I apologize, and thank you to everyone correcting me. You were guaranteed a 4 diamond card, which is an EX, and then a 1-star is like the like full art Meryl, and then a 2, right?
Okay, I think we need to. Yeah, a 1-star is the equivalent of an illustration rare.
Yes.
So it is a Pokemon that is not an EX, but the card is like a full art illustration scene. That is a 1-star.
And those are tradable too.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the 2-star is the full art EX.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 3-star
or
is
the full art trainer supporter.
Full art trainer.
Or the special, what would be considered a special illustration rare, where it's like a full art scenario EX card. So like, I sent you guys a picture of Leafeon, the Leafeon EX. It's got a rainbow border, like the border of the card is a rainbow.
Oh, the rainbow borders.
That is also a 2-star. Those are also 2-star cards.
3 stars are only immersive.
Yep.
And then the crown is gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was supposed to be another rarity, right? But that didn't happen this weekend.
That was there was a rumor about that, right? Or
yeah, where it kind of looked like almost like a rainbow star.
Huh.
I don't know if we talked about this on the show.
I remember talking about it briefly, but I don't remember if it was on the show or not. But yeah. But that did not
Hannah, Bobby, and I do talk outside the show.
Shocking.
So sometimes when we're talking in messages, I'm like, do we talk about this on the show? Or we're just DMing each other? So that's there. And once again, I just want to say that they did fix the trading problem. They were just like, let us drown you in tokens. Please forget that this trading system exists. Because that was like their anniversary thing. You get so many trade tokens for the like going through the anniversary thing of like, do 1 trade, open 5 booster packs, crush a card.
Yeah.
So many being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1,000 total.
1,000, yeah.
So that's a good amount. It's not a ton, but it's enough to trade some.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They also opened up trading for Space Time Smackdown.
Yes.
Yes.
Which was like not. Was it announced? Because I feel like it wasn't announced.
No,
but
they didn't say it at all.
Yeah, as soon as the set came out, like you could also trade Space Time Smackdown now.
Which the rumor on that was wrong. The rumor that I read was that was supposed to come at the end of March for trading, and it just happened now.
I am
like
surprised
fine.
that it was so quick. And I do wonder if we'll start seeing, like, as soon as the next set comes out, you're going to be able to trade the previous set, which I don't have a problem with. I think that's totally fine. But I would have expected it to last a little longer than a month, like exactly a month.
Yeah, I thought that, again, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
I'm not totally cool that you can trade. Get your Magnezones. Moving into the regular TCG, they showed off the Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia. It was just what Lucario and
So-
Gardevoir.
Yeah, usually usually those trademarks end up becoming like the name of a set, right? Like in the past they have. But Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia were the names of the moves on the cards,
Yeah.
which I thought was
it could still be a set slash anytime there's like merchandise they would have to trademark.
okay.
So if they were going to go hard on merchandise for this,
Yeah.
they might be able to. This again, we could probably talk about physical TCG forever. I love physical TCG. This seems like a very good year to sell your collection if you are sitting on your collection. I don't think, like Mega's coming back to TCG on top of Prismatic Evolution and a brand new Flying type EV. Oh wait, that wasn't announced. And then the Team Rocket coming back. I think this might be the year. The market will crash again. It will.
Yeah,
But
it will.
you're safe this year, it looks like, if you're looking to sell.
One thing I will note real quick, just since we're talking about the physical TCG, the next set that comes out, Journey Together, comes out in March. Booster boxes, like, when you go buy a 36-pack booster box of a set, this one comes with a promo card.
The booster box itself?
Yeah, they're called enhanced booster boxes now, and it comes with that Reshiram, like that illustration rare that we saw that was
Ooh.
presented back in Worlds, like when they first
Yeah, that's a
talked
good one.
about that. Yeah, that comes as I don't know if it's like a Black Star promo, but it comes with the booster box, which is, I don't know, they may have done this like a long time ago, but definitely not in any recent times have they provided like an additional card with the booster box. So I don't know if that'll be something they're going to start doing going forward, but yeah, if you do buy a booster box of this Journey Together that comes out in March, you will get that Ends Reshiram with that.
And it is March now, so it comes out this month.
Oh yeah, that's right.
End of the month, though, right?
End of the month. If you
It's
can
like
find it.
24th, I think.
If you can find it anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like sold out everywhere. The booster boxes are also sold out everywhere.
And then for Pokemon Sleep, we are getting Cresselia and Darkrai. There was a psychic type week coming, and I don't remember what led up to people thinking that Cresselia was coming. I guess Pokemon. Here's the actual news: Pokemon Sleep is in a very safe place because they did not have to hit the Mewtwo button yet. I promise you, the Mewtwo button is very powerful in any game. TCG, VGC, spin-offs. That's why Cafe Remix is still. Wait, I actually think Mewtwo is a Cafe Remix. Never mind. They already hit that button. The Mewtwo button is very good. So that's kind of why I was like, oh, I feel like Mewtwo would be the psychic they would feature because they're probably wanting to bring new people back. But the fact that they didn't hit the Mewtwo button and they're hitting the Cresselia button, I like Cresselia, don't get me wrong, means that they're probably
Doing okay.
they're probably holding their player base pretty okay. I mean, they do listen to the podcast. I know this. They know that Hannah left. They try to get Hannah back with Clodsire. We've put it out there that Jangmo-O is the possible Pokemon that will bring Hannah back. So I expect when the new island comes out, Jangmo-O will be there because I know they're listening. I know they want Hannah back. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But yes, they must be holding pretty steady to not hit the Mewtwo button. And we'll get our first mythical, which is Darkrai. I guess no clue how that works. Does Darkrai have more ticks than a legendary?
Yeah, I don't know. Darkrai is the weirdest Pokemon to put into sleep. Honestly,
I mean,
I get the battle, like the Darkrai's Cresselia against each other, like sure.
Your
but
team
Yeah,
wakes
but-
up with negative energy when Darkrai's on your team.
Darkrai wasn't. If I'm remembering the movie correctly, Darkrai wasn't intentionally hurting people with nightmares, right?
So
If I remember the movie correctly, Darkrai has very skinny legs, and it's weird. That's the only thing I remember for that movie. And that guy turns into a Licky Licky, which is also pretty good.
Yeah, that.
That movie's tight. That movie's above fine. That movie's tight.
well, then I hope this means that we're getting Lickitung and Licky Licky in game soon.
We can only hope. There was a bunch of updates to Pokemon Sleep because that they didn't actually run through for the presents, but we'll get to that either post show or next week. Look, there's a lot to go through. And then there was some sword and there was some sword and shield,
Shield news.
That was I can't believe there was some Scarlet and Violet news. I'll just run through it real quick. There's a Rotom phone case you can get. Those codes I put on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. They're one per get. You can't get both. If you own Violet, you get the Violet one. If you own Scarlet, you get the Scarlet one. Mighty Meowscarada, Skeledirge, and Quackleval are coming for the next 3 weeks. So by the time this episode comes up, Meowscarada will still be in raids. I have a raid build video up for that. I will be building for Skeledirge on Monday on Twitch, and I'll put that up on like Tuesday or Wednesday. And then Skeledirge might actually be the hardest out of this because of Torch Song. So you either, well, one, you probably also have to disable its ability, but also running something like Clear Smog or Snarl to negate the increases from Torch Song. And then Quackleval will be after that. And then they said for the rest of the year, we are still going to have 7-star raids, and they showed Pokemon from the 600 Club. And the real news is Archaladon, our true 600 base stat total Pokemon, was not featured in the 600 Club. Maybe they're saving him. He's a little special. He's a little special. Maybe they're saving him for after it. Mm-hmm. But we will. I think that's great. We will have 7-star raids for the rest of the year. I really like 7-star raids. I know some people are probably over them, but I like raiding. I do. I like raiding at 3 frames a second. I find it very fun.
I think it's definitely good. We've had this right for years now, but knowing that you're gonna be able to potentially transfer transfer these Pokemon to later games at some point. It's a good chance to get some level 100 like great Pokemon over the next year. So I would say, like, if you are planning to play Pokemon in the future and you want to have some stuff that is, you don't have to worry about like going and leveling up later and you can just save them for later, then I think that these raids would be good to do. I mean, again, we've had these for years, but it's just another reminder that like you can get a bunch of Pokemon, really good Pokemon that you can then use down the line, potentially.
And they also showed that there are 9 Pokemon in outbreaks right now that will actually last 3 weeks, which was like really bold of them. You would think they would just do like, here's 1 week of 3, here's another week of 3. They were like, here's all 9 that you can do, assuming you have the DLC. That goes until I think March 20th. I put guides up on Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky and all that stuff. So if you want to hunt those, you can. I would assume that there will also be more mass outbreaks for the year since they're doing more 7-star raids for the year. And before we take a break, I will say like this is like the last year of Scarlet and Violet, obviously, until we get to Legends Z-A, which is coming out in the winter, fall time. I just wish, like, you know, I think a lot of us wish for Scarlet and Violet to be better, and what that better is for people might be frame rate, might be graphics, might be story, might be whatever. For me, it was graphics and frame rate. Like I sincerely think that if the game ran smoothly and if the game looked a little bit prettier, it would legitimately be a top 3 Pokemon game for almost everyone. And not that this year is over, but you see that they have content for the rest of the year. 3 years of like constant raids, constant mass outbreaks, constant tournaments, like the DLC, like bringing you back. That is what I want for a Pokemon game. Like, just give me the good frame rate and give me the good graphics. But like 3 years for ultimately what, $90? Because I think $60. Well, it was $100, right? $60 for the base game, $40 for the DLC. $100 for 3 years of something to do every weekend in a series I love. Fantastic. It's just like, for me, it was the frame rate and the graphics that were like, oh, you're so close. You're so close. For other people, it might have been some other stuff, but we can only hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have hope because we have more games coming.
We do have more games coming. So let's take a quick break, and we're going to talk about Pokemon Champions, and then after Champions, we're going to talk about Pokemon Legends Z-A. So we will be right back. This podcast is brought to you by Mint Mobile. I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers, those big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping our money too. After years of overpaying for wireless, it's understandable that people are fed up with crazy high bills, fees, the free perks that are actually you're not using or costing you more money. But then you think about switching to Mint Mobile. With Mint Mobile, you can say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans. Your plans on Mint Mobile come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. On top of that, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can bring along your phone number too. There's no secrets here on this podcast. You want to save money, but more importantly, you want to play Pokemon GO. You want to play your Pokemon TCG Pocket. You want to play your Pokemon Masters EX. And you're asking the question right now, can I do that on Mint Mobile? Yes, you can. Absolutely. I'll even do you one better. You can play Pikmin Bloom if you really want to on your Mint Mobile plan because of the 5G network, because of the great speeds, and in the back of your mind, you're saving money. If you like money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/PKMNcast. That's mintmobile.com/PKMNcast. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And we are back from our break. The Pokemon Company announced a brand new game, Gale of Darkness 2. It was Pokemon. It's called Pokemon Champions. It is now in development for Nintendo Switch and iOS and Android. I have the press release here. Developed by the Pokemon Works. That's just Ilka.
It's Ilka and Pokemon. Al pointed that out. It's not just Ilka.
Well, yeah, I would assume Pokemon had some involvement in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Well, they did.
In collaboration with Game Freak, the developer of the Pokemon video games, Pokemon Champions will continue the tradition of trainers putting their skills against those around the world with the aim of allowing core game-style battles to be enjoyed by more players than ever. Pokemon Champions will also be compatible with Pokemon Home, the cloud service that has not been updated for 5 years for the Nintendo Switch and mobile. That wasn't part of the press release. I just thought I would add that in since they didn't. That will allow trainers to team up with Pokemon brought from previous Pokemon games, in addition to those they partner with in Champions. Pokemon Champions will be available for the Nintendo Switch family of systems, as well as mobile devices. More details on Champions for the future. And yes, that's all they had in the press release. Look, Bobby and Hannah are looking at me because they want me to say it. I told you so. What do you want from me? I told you so.
You were possibly the only person to predict it happening at this specific Pokemon Presents. People have been talking about a battle-specific game for a while, but you saw the writing on the wall that this was coming.
Yeah. I think the main appeal, and now I think people are talking about this game incorrectly.
We don't know yet.
Sure, but I think I have a lot of thoughts on this game, Hannah. I think the importance of this game is the importance of competitive battling and tournaments to the Pokemon Company. Worlds is such an important event to them. Growing the competitive scene is very important to them. And we'll talk about how the battle system in Legends Z-A is different, and I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. But I think the what they have developed over the last 29 years of turn-based combat, of double battles, of this competitive scene being as complicated as it is behind the scenes, but also as easy to watch as a normal viewer on the scene, it's just very, very important to them. So I again, we'll talk about this maybe legend. We're going to talk about now of, future Pokemon games will have this action-based system, and they'll just move all the turn-based to this. I don't think that's correct. I think the turn-based system is a core thing to Pokemon, and I think I have no problem with Legends or these in-between games. Even I hate using the word Legends, not because I hate the word using the word Legends, but literally Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee did this too. They did a new style of game. It wasn't super battle focused, and that didn't take away from Sword and Shield. That didn't take away from Scarlet and Violet. And I really don't think that Champions is going to suddenly take away from Generation 10. I think Generation 10 will still have the turn-based battles. Maybe it'll do something a little different. Scarlet and Violet obviously has a little bit different, approaching Pokemon and the backstrike and stuff that, Sword and Shield didn't have. But I don't think Champions all of a sudden means no more VGC, no more competitive in a main series game. It's all going to be right here, and now we're splitting our audience. Because I don't think they want to split their audience. And I can elaborate on that, but I'm yapping. So, Bobby, tell me what you think about Champions.
I think that I agree with you in that I think that that doesn't mean Gen 10 won't have like turn-based battles, just because say like Legends Z-A isn't going to have battles in that same way. And now that this game is coming out, I think it's like a bit of it's just a coincidence. Like this game is coming out, I think, more so because we're getting to the end of what Scarlet and Violet brings to competitive. The fact that Legends Z-A also has a different style of battle in it, I don't think is connected to the fact that this game is coming out. Similar to the fact that like Legends Arceus' battle like mechanics didn't translate to Gen 9.
They did a little bit.
How so?
The whole backstrike thing.
Yeah, the backstrike thing did come back, yeah. Backstrike was first in Legends. It did,
but they didn't change
over.
the whole they didn't change all the mechanics of it because of Legends. Like
I would say backstrike is
take
more catching than it is battling, because you are increasing the catch rate. Well,
they're all kind of connected.
I'm talking more about trainer battles when I'm talking to. Like I'm talking about the battle mechanics of a trainer battle. Like when you're in battle and that's what's going on. Like I just feel like that isn't going to change. I don't think that this game coming out is telling us that like that's going to change Gen 10's battle mechanics all around.
Let me defend Hannah here. The thing that is different, I wouldn't say is the backstrikes. I would say are raids, because they're not fully turn-based.
I was thinking that
they're
too.
Timer-based.
Yeah.
But they are still turn-based.
Specific.
I mean, the
I'm
thing
talking
about
about
raids is they are
like,
still time-based or turn-based,
Yeah.
but you just don't see it the way that. Like I still like. Don't get me started on raids. People are still really bad at raids. Like people are still really bad at picking the right counters, building a team, all that stuff. And that's not to say like they're bad. Well, I guess you could say they're bad at Pokemon. Pokemon is just really complicated. And so like to this day, 2.5 years later, people still don't realize that there is an actual turn order in raids. And so if you wait until you see a reflect go up, here, let me simplify it. The raid boss in raids will not attack you until you attack it. And that when you hit that button, that is what determines the 2 speed stats, which is what it is in a normal battle. So if your teammate's going to hit reflect, as long as you wait to see that reflect go up, you're never going to be attacked. So you can wait an extra 2 seconds, see the reflect go up. That is now in play. And then when you hit your attack, you are going to take less damage. There are so many players in raids that are like, I need to attack as fast as possible because the sooner I can attack, the sooner I can attack again. And that is just an illusion. Like the raid boss, like just like go into a raid and just sit there. The raid boss won't attack you. There is a timeout feature. I think it times out after like 2 minutes or something, 90 seconds, where eventually it just picks it by default, picks your move and picks their move. But again, that's a timeout feature that's in like competitive battles. I think in competitive battles it's like 45 seconds, where if you don't pick a move, it just picks the first move.
But also to Bobby's point, raid battles aren't trainer battles.
Yeah, I'm
raid
talking
battles aren't
about
PvP.
trainer battles, or battles you're going to have just against.
Hannah, I was trying to defend you.
You got yourself started on raids. You said, don't get me started on raids. No, you got yourself started on raids.
That's a good point about the raids.
So I agree with you. I don't think that like turn-based battle is going away in Gen 10. There's nothing else to back that up. I just think that has been a staple of Pokemon games for so long, for the main series games for so long, that I don't think they're going to take that away at this point.
I think there is something to back that up, though. You have 29 years of turn-based battles, which people clearly like because they keep buying games. Like Gen. Well, okay. When I say 29 years, like obviously there's Pokemon games in between that are not turn-based battles. But you look at Gen 10, or sorry, not Gen 10. You look at Gen 5. Just divide that in half. You look at Gen 5. That is the worst-selling main series Pokemon game that isn't like a third version or anything. So just Pokemon Black and White. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think that sold about 12 to 14 million copies. The worst-selling main series marquee title or whatever. And then you look at something like you look at something like Sun and Moon, which sold better, right? It sold like 16 million copies. It sold better. And then you look at Sword and Shield, which sold 24 million copies. And then you look at Scarlet and Violet, which sold 24 million copies. Literally 8 to 10 million more than a game that was on the 3DS. So you can't even say that, there wasn't that many 3DSs out there. There were a lot of 3DSs out there. I feel like if you were a Japanese kid, you owned 4 3DSs because they're just everywhere in Japan. Like you could find them on the street in Japan. They're just 3DSs in trash cans. They've got so many out there. So I think you can back up that people like turn-based battles. And if they didn't, they would maybe not keep buying Pokemon games. Look at Legends Arceus.
How does that logic work, though?
Because look at Legends Arceus. Legends Arceus only sold 14 million, not turn-based.
It was one game.
Yeah, sure, but we know that we know the majority of people are not buying 2 games. When you're being advertised a game, like, I don't buy Mario games because I just don't like platformers. I know that Mario games are good. I know they're super fun. I know graphically they look better than Pokemon games. Like, there's a lot. I know the music is great. Like, but I don't like a platformer, so I'm not going to play that. Now, I know there are some people that are like, I just want the story, or I just want this or that. But I do feel like the fact that a Pokemon game is turn-based is a pretty big barrier to be like, am I going to buy this game or not? Mm-hmm. I like turn-based games. That's why I gravitate to Pokemon. I fell off Final Fantasy games because they stopped being turn-based, and that's fine. Like, yeah. I also fell off Resident Evil, where Resident Evil went from a tank camera to a third-person camera, and then they went first-person, and I was like, you know what? That's not what I want. I don't want a first-person Resident Evil. That's too scary for me. I need lights on. I need to play during the day. Too scary. No first person. But I do think you have 2 recent games. You have 3 recent. Well, we'll ignore Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. You out of 3 of the 4 recent games have sold 24 million copies, and the game that was not turn-based only sold 14 million copies. To be fair, I do think not releasing before Christmas did hurt that. But a 10 million copy difference when one is an action-based game and one is a turn-based game. I don't think you can ignore that.
Here's a point that is actually like opposite of it. It's just in the other way. They want this game to be, they marketed it to be like bringing battles to the most people ever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So what you're going to not want to do when your next generation like mainline game comes out is completely change up the battle style. So all the people who play Pokemon Champions are now going into a different battle style and splitting their time between two different battle styles. So you have Legends Z-A, which has a record of like, we're changing things up because we're going to try some different stuff with this series of game. But in their main series game, people are going to drop Champions to play Gen 10 when it comes out. And I'm guessing they're not going to want people to play a completely different battle style in Gen 10 to then come back over to Champions and have a completely different battle style to jump back into. I think they're going to want some consistency between where people are doing like the Pokemon Champions stuff and the game that they're playing when they're not playing Pokemon Champions. They're going to want consistency between those two.
That might be the strongest point because I am not convinced by you two. I do kind of think that Pokemon Champions is intended to be the place where PvP happens going forward.
We're not convincing? You're telling us that
Not on this point. But I see the point of wanting things to be consistent. I don't think that means that Worlds is going to go back to being in the main series games. I think that if they turn Worlds into Pokemon Champions, that's where these battles happen, that's where these competitions happen, I think it would stay there. I think that's what I said when we were discussing this before.
If that were the case, then...
Hang on.
Okay, sorry.
The biggest convincing factor,
my bad.
other than keeping it consistent, and I think it's still possible to keep it consistent and still keep actual battles and competitive happening in Champions. The biggest convincing factor for me that wouldn't be the case is the fact that it's Pokemon Works working on this title.
Mm-hmm.
That confuses me, because them making this a mobile game makes more sense that why Pokemon Works is working on it, but it means to me that they want this to go forward, that they want this to stick around and be a constant.
Yeah.
If it was just a Switch game, then yeah, maybe it's just a side game that you play and then it's done. But because this is coming out on mobile, I see it being a long-term thing in some way or another.
I agree with you. No, I agree with Hannah on that. That gives me more reason to believe that Gen 10 would be turn-based style again, though, because if they were to keep all of the VGC and everything and the competitive to Champions, like going forward, I think that they would definitely want to make sure that the battle style, when those people are not playing Champions, are going to be playing Gen 10 for some period of time, would stay consistent between the two, so that when they do jump back into Champions to continue the competitive VGC side of things, it's not completely different from the other game that's potentially taking up their time.
I mean, playing competitive already feels like a whole different world from playing against NPCs in the story.
But foundationally, it's the same.
Technically.
It is literally it's foundationally the same. They are both turn-based.
But you play them totally differently a lot of the time.
But they're both turn-based. That's all I'm saying. Like, foundation of it is the same.
Yes.
Look, there's no doubt in my mind, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this, that they don't want Gen 10 to outsell Gen 9 and Gen 8. That means they have to, at minimum, sell 24 million copies. And even video games aside, if you were a tech company, if you were a software company, if you were a business, a brick and mortar business, 10 is a big deal. It just is. And I don't think that they want to. This is what I said 2 weeks ago. I said that my concern is, like, I don't think they should split their player bases, and I don't think that Champions. The way they set up Champions is how they ultimately split their player base. But I want to just keep it really simple. Let's just say that Scarlet and Violet sold 20 million copies, because that's an easy number to work with, 20 million. And let's just say 1 out of 10 people are competitive people. That would be, if my math is correct, 2 million people buying Scarlet and Violet. Just Bobby, the accountant, is like, yes, your math is right. That would be 2 million people buying Scarlet and Violet just to play competitive. That's a lot of money on the table. 2 million times 60. Just all of a sudden, like, I don't need to buy this game. I'm just going to stick to Champions. And I don't think they want to do that. I don't think any company wants to split their player base when their main goal is to sell as many copies of this generation. I would assume that the pipe dream...
Champions connects to home. What if the easiest way to get the new Pokemon and build them the way you want is still in the main series games?
That was,
yeah. Here's another thing.
Good point.
You know what doesn't work when a new generation comes out? Home. You have to wait like 6 months. Do you really think Gen 10 is coming out and it's going to have home compatibility on day 1 so you can move your Gen 10 starter over and start battling right away once you evolve it?
Well, you know who makes home?
way.
Same people who's making Champions.
Yeah,
So I think it's a possibility.
I don't think so. Like, there's so many things they can do here. Number 1 is the new gimmick is not in Champions. You have to buy Gen 10 to play the new gimmick. You want to play those old gimmicks? Sure, we have them. But you want to play the new gimmick with the new Pokemon in the new generation, you got to buy our new game. And almost all my predictions over the last couple of years where I've been right are because the Pokemon company likes money. They love it. They just do. They don't want to do anything to make less money. So having a game saying this game might take away sales from our Generation 10 game, which we want to sell 24, 25, 26 million, just doesn't make sense.
I don't think it would take away sales.
Yeah, because they'll just say, you know, all those new Pokemon, you can't use them for 6 months. So you're going to sit there and be like, well, I want to use the new Pokemon. I got to buy Gen 10.
We don't know for sure that it won't connect to home right away. I think that there is incentive in the way they are structuring these companies for them to want to connect it to home right away.
There's no like technical aspect for generation for Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, for Legends Arceus, for Sword and Shield. They're like, why is every time one of those new games come out, it takes 6+ months to connect to home? It's not because they don't want to or it's technical. It's because they're just time gating you to force you to play the game more.
Technically, Ilka did create Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, and it didn't make it any quicker to get into home.
Yeah, it was the law.
But the incentive is a little bit different there. I think that keeping competitive in Champions would allow them to kind of have longer development cycles on the main series games because they can diversify the different rule sets more and more with all the different mechanics that you can have in that game.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. The people who work on competitive, they don't do anything else. That's all they do is competitive. I know this for sure because I went to Creature's office. And the people who play test the cards, that's all they do all day. All they do is balance.
But
that's not what I'm saying. But in Champions, they have Mega and they have all of the mechanics. They have lots more to work with than just one single game.
And they wouldn't have to wait on competitive. Wouldn't have to wait on the rest of Pokemon's game to be. You're saying like the development of the entire new game could potentially take longer because the competitive aspect is stuck in a different game. So like the competitive doesn't have to wait for the rest of the game.
Point, like where we are right now, where Scarlet and Violet are kind of being stretched out too thin, it's been a little bit too long. People are getting a little tired of the rule sets and they're running out of options and ways to change them. They have a lot more options in a game like Champions.
But I don't think that's a real problem. Like
that's why you predicted Champions would exist.
We're talking about for the next for the following year.
That is a real problem because next year they have nothing. Because Gen 10 should have came out this year.
But we want them to be spending time on these games.
No, that's what Hannah's saying is that development time could end up taking longer because the competitive aspect of it being in a different place doesn't weigh on like them needing to have it in the game so that the next round of worlds is a certain way.
Yep.
The
And I
development
was,
of the next game could take longer if needed.
yep.
That way.
And I was seeing some
Yes.
people talk about how
I see what you're saying.
rebalancing could be easier if things are in Champions primarily for
No,
competitive as well.
That's not true at all. They've already rebalanced certain moves and stuff.
Yeah, but they won't have to update the newest game. They won't have to
They
send
can,
a patch
though.
in for the entire game just to
this isn't
rebalance
2006
competitive.
anymore. Like that's such a poor excuse. So many video games just put updates. Literally any shooter, Call of Duty, Apex Legends, whatever. If a gun needs to be recalibrated, they just
That
push an
doesn't
update.
mean that Pokemon Company and Game Freak are good at it.
Sure,
They
but
push
like,
events all the time that break things.
Sure, but it is 2025. If you need to change one move, you shouldn't be like, oh, we need a whole different game that we can do this quicker. Like,
I'm not
like
saying
that,
it's the reason. I'm saying
These are
it's
just
another
benefits.
good
These
thing.
are just benefits of that.
But like,
Yeah.
but like, Dragon Cheer was broken. They did fix Dragon Cheer. Like, there is evidence of them needing to fix moves, and they can do it. Like it shouldn't be hard, and I'm not going to say like, oh well, they need to do a whole, like, they've been making games for 30 plus years. This is not 2006 anymore. If a move is broken or needs to be rebalanced, they can easily do that. Easily, maybe doing a little heavy lifting, but that's on them as being incompetent developers compared to the rest of the gaming industry. And you could maybe say they're incompetent because their game doesn't run very good. But we know that Champions will not launch with all the Pokemon. That they said that in the little notes below. And going back to pacing, Scarlet and Violet was on the correct pace. The August tournament will end with 2 restricted, and that after 3 years is how a tournament ends. Now, in past games like X and Y, or Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, or Sun and Moon, or Ultra Sun and Moon, instead of DLC, or instead of actual rules being changed, they just relied on that Pokedex, and you just had to buy that game, and you just had to participate. And it wasn't until Sword and Shield where they did start doing rules. Sword and Shield was the first time they were like, we're banning 10 Pokemon. These are the 10 Pokemon you can't use. And that was exciting. And then in Scarlet and Violet, they did all that again, where it was like every couple months, the rule sets change. I don't remember. We're on Regulation G. And there was Regulation H, so we went back to G. But you also need enough time for people to adapt to those rules. You don't actually want to be changing your rules every single month, because even from G to H back to G, G does feel different than what it did before. It was just H opened up and showed people different Pokemon to use. Mm-hmm. And yes, once this August is over, there is not another game to go back to that isn't Scarlet and Violet. So they will have to rely on Champions for next year. And I can definitely see Champions being like, if Champions graphically looks better, graphically runs better, has a spectator mode, which I'm assuming it will have, they will use that on main stage. But I'm very confident that people are walking in to Worlds after Gen 10 comes out with Gen 10 cartridges. We already have... 100%.
I genuinely do not think they will introduce Champions as a game that is used in Worlds and then take it away.
No, I'm saying they will. I'm saying I'm agreeing with you that Champions might be the thing they play in, but they're going to require people to have Gen 10.
Oh, and sure. Well, I think that you're going to have to get Pokemon, like, if you want the best Pokemon for the game, like, you're going to probably have to get them from Gen 10 and put them into home and then into Champions.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking too. Also, if Champions is what they use in Worlds, and if they allow people to use their own mobile devices, they really need to pay attention to how well that's gone for Pokemon Go, because it hasn't.
Do people use their own mobile devices in Pokemon Go, like Worlds?
I don't think it's their own mobile devices, but if they're using mobile devices at all.
Yeah.
Just the connection issues.
If you're playing on the main stage, you have to log into their devices. I don't remember what it is.
That doesn't resolve all the connection issues.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that and thinking about Worlds just crashing and lagging and pausing because of this being on mobile and
Well,
just
Maybe
Scarlet
like
and Violet crashes and has
True.
connection issues too. It's
True.
not safe on the Switch.
one thing I was wondering about with Champions is, and they mentioned like you were able to get Pokemon in Champions, but then like you could also bring them in from home.
they
Like-
didn't specify which direction the home connection was.
But they said like if you
They
like
did
one
say
way
you
to
would
get
be able
them,
to encounter Pokemon in Champions.
yeah, which I thought
I
was
think.
interesting because that made me think like, well, I wonder how that would work. I guess you could, because there's going to be different styles of like ranked battle, casual battle, different things like that. But I just thought that was interesting that it kind of made it sound like, oh, you can obtain Pokemon
Oh
in
wait,
Champions.
they did say which direction. It was in the subtext. It was in the little text. It says Pokemon you have originally obtained in Pokemon Champions cannot be deposited in Pokemon Home.
Yeah, so I
Which
thought
is
that
It'd
was
be like the
interesting.
rental Pokemon.
Oh,
You can
right,
probably
okay.
unlock
Renting
rental
isn't the
teams.
same as obtaining a Pokemon, though. So I
you can't-
definitely think that rental teams are going to be a thing, but it also sounds like there's going to be some way to get Pokemon in
Yeah,
Champions.
I'm sure there will be a battle tower or something that you go through and you unlock Pokemon that you can then build around.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming those Pokemon cannot move. This is why I disagree with both of you. I feel like you're putting too much weight into Champions and Ilka for it just being a battle sim. We have a battle sim to look at. TCG Live is a battle sim. It doesn't take away from the physical cards that they are actively selling, and people are walking into those tournaments with physical cards.
But
The
they also
main
don't
goal-
use TCG Live at Worlds.
Yeah, they don't. The main appeal of this is literally just to get more players into competitive to sell more copies of Gen 10 where they want players. That's it. That's all it's doing. The reality is, this is not going to be better than Pokemon Showdown. It's not. Pokemon Showdown has existed. It's accessible. It has sliders. I don't think for a second that it's going to just let you like slide your EVs like Showdown. So you have, I think realistically, what they are trying to do is just to get mobile players, one of the biggest markets that they've already taken advantage of with TCG and Pokemon Go. Look, it is no surprise that TCG Pocket came out before one of the best years they have planned for TCG. And TCG Pocket did exactly what they wanted. Again, just think about money. They took a free-to-play game. They got people to spend hundreds of dollars in that free-to-play game, and then they got those people to spend $100 in physical cards. And now we cannot find any Pokemon cards. In Champions, I think their main goal is the same thing. We're going to get a bunch of people who play Pokemon Go or who play Pokemon Showdown or who want to go back and play Dynamax because they don't like Terra. We're going to get them in here. They're going to be more involved with Pokemon. And then when Gen 10 comes out, we now have a stepping stone to push those people towards Gen 10. And if Gen 10 doesn't have any sense of competitive, which is a ranked ladder, actual tournaments, which rewards you with like your Safari Balls and your Love Balls and your points and your BP and sometimes like a backpack or a legendary shiny Pokemon like Zapdos or something, then they have no reason to buy it. Their end goal is just to push people to buy Gen 10 and do competitive there. Do I think there will be some tournaments in Champions? 100%. Do I think there will be some tournaments in Gen 10? 100%. Do I think there will be a battle tower in Champions? Yeah, totally. Do I think that means there probably won't be a battle tower in Gen 10? Yeah, probably too. But like, I don't think ranked, casual, random, I don't think that's going away. They have, maybe the writing is on the wall with Saudi Arabia, but you probably have so many people playing GBL or doing some sort of wanting competitive in Pokemon Go that are like, this ship is sinking. I can now move my Pokemon to Champions, and I can battle here instead of Pokemon Go.
I don't think that would work. I don't think those players would move over. I think the battling's too different.
I think they move over because it is on their phone. I think it's as simple as that.
Wouldn't they need to get like? So I guess this is my other question about Champions. Where do like things like IV training and mints for natures and things like that happen, like you're gonna have to put those into a main series game to get all that to happen before then pulling it back in to champions, right? Because I assume like anybody who's playing champions, or a lot of people who are playing champions, especially ranked, are going to have done that with their Pokemon that they're using. So if you're just bringing Pokemon from Go and putting them into champions, like they're not going to be, kind of like battle ready. You're going to have to move them into a main series game first, get them all trained up, and then move them back out into home and into champions. Unless there's some way in champions to do those things, which again, like who knows, right? That's not been, we know very little about this game at this point in time.
Yeah, we know very, very little. We don't know whether it's going to be free to play or not, which is a whole other.
There's no way this game has a paywall.
I know, but
it's a lose-lose situation if this game has a paywall. Because no Pokemon fan listening to this podcast should be like, yes, please take something you gave me for free for 29 years and put it in a different game and then make me pay extra for it. And that would be battling, right? If they said, hey, you can play the story of a Pokemon game, but if you would like to complete your Pokedex, it's going to be over here for $40 in a different game. Like, just battling and like a Pokemon game is the story, completing your Pokedex, shiny hunting, raid battles, VGC battles, right? And you're getting all of that for $60. And I don't think they're going to say this, those VGC battles, you don't get that for free anymore. No, thank you. You got to go over here. When, again, going back, they have successfully increased the amount of people interested in VGC to the point where you can't even sign up for a tournament. You have to be sitting, waiting on a tournament page, willing to pay $80. And the people who want to play in these tournaments cannot play in these tournaments because they fill up too fast. And there is some logistical issues there, right? Like venues are only so big. They only have so many seats. They only have a weekend. And if they add more players, they need more time. They only have so many TOs. Like, there are logistical, but that's a good issue to have for them, that they have so many people wanting to play VGC, but that they can't accommodate all of them.
What's the biggest VGC tournament? Like when you say like so many people, are we talking like under 10,000?
I don't know what the biggest tournament
it's
to
a lot
date
of people
was
at this point.
1,400 people, which was in London.
Was in one tournament. 1,400 people.
Yes, but
they
that
sold
was
24 million copies. 1,400 people in a tournament is not a like.
No. You're not understanding.
One?
That was the limit. They didn't have any more seats.
No, I know, but that's my point. Is like how many people are actually trying to sign up for these? Because like, is it 5,000? Is it 10,000?
When I played in black and white, there were 60 people. That was it. There was no tournament cap. There was no line. It was best of one. The tournament was over in 6 hours. There wasn't even 2 days long.
I know. I'm just saying, like, even if you look at 1,400, even if you look at 10,000, we're talking 24 million copies versus 100,000. Like, talk about percentages for a second. 10% of 24 million is 2.4 million people. 1% is 10% of that, right? It's 240,000 people, something like that. Like, so I'm just saying,
but you don't expect 1 million people to fly to London to be in a tournament.
I don't. I'm just saying, like, when we're talking about big numbers here, and we're talking about amounts of people wanting to sign up for things, and you're pushing that up against 24 million copies sold. Like, big numbers are different in different ways, but like, I'm just interested in.
I don't think that's a fair comparison. Millions of people play League of Legends. No one is on the level of Faker. like those tournaments also have a level cap. That doesn't mean millions of people aren't trying to climb to Platinum or to Apex or to whatever the League of Legends players. Help me out. I don't know what the ranking is. Like, competitive games are, people want that. People want a healthy competitive game. People want to get better and to improve. Not everyone is going to go to a tournament, right? Like I went to one Sword and Shield tournament my entire thing, and I still actively got to master rank every single year of Sword and Shield. Like,
so your prediction now for the next 2 years is that on stage at Worlds 2026 will be Champions, because there won't be another Pokemon game yet. There won't be a Gen 10 yet.
Mm-hmm.
But Worlds 2027 will be Gen 10, not Champions.
Assuming that Gen 10 runs at more than 12 frames a second. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and assumptions are that, like, I'm talking like we can't predict like how well the games actually. I'm just saying, like, if the games go as they normally do, you think it'll be Champions for a year, then you think they will remove that from Worlds and it'll be Gen 10 at the 2027 World Championship.
I think when you're sitting across from an opponent at a tournament, you will both be using your Gen 10 games. If you are featured to go onto the main stage to be live streamed, you will probably use Champions because it will be more showcasey.
So those games will work the same.
What's the confusion here?
So Champions clearly has Mega Evolutions and Terra happening in it right now,
Yep.
right? The screenshots we saw, the video we
Yep.
saw showed Mega Evolution, Terra. You think
Not
Gen
final
10,
game
not final
footage.
game, sure. So you think that Gen 10 will keep those mechanics so
Nope.
that when...
Nope.
Okay.
Gen 10
So-
will be a brand new gimmick, and all of Gen 10 will be that gimmick.
And then Champions
That's it.
will change to that?
Champions will change to that at a later date. That gimmick will not be available in Champions right away.
And then Mega Evolution and Terra will no longer be a thing in Champions.
Nope. That Mega Evolution, Terra, Dynamax will all be in Champions. Free play to your heart desire. You can already do that on Showdown. Gen 10 will be a brand new gimmick, and it will run through the entire 3 years, like Scarlet and Violet, like Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield was Dynamax. Scarlet and Violet was Terra. Gen 10 will be a new gimmick. It will run 3 years. That new gimmick will not be available in Champions right away,
Right. But
because Pokemon Home won't be available to Champions right away in connection with Gen 10. Meaning that if you want to start practicing, if you want to start battling, if you want to start attending tournaments, you will need a copy of Gen 10. And at big tournaments that are live streamed, they will probably take your cartridges out or take your account or whatever, put them into their system so it can be broadcast with Champions on the big screen. But when you're lining up 1,000 people, it will just be like, link your switches together, put it in, plug in your Pro Controller, because you're not allowed to have a wireless Pro Controller, and then do the battle, best 2 out of 3, and move on.
so you think that there will be... Okay. I'm just trying to understand the parity between like Gen 10 and Champions, in that you're like playing both in some capacity. Because if Gen 10 doesn't have things that Champions has, like Mega Evolutions and Terra and things like that, like Gen 10 won't have that because it'll have its own thing and it won't have stuff from the past, then you're talking about people playing Gen 10 in one way, and then you saying that on the stage they'd have Champions playing because that'd be more showcasey. But those games have to have some kind of similarity there if you're playing between two different games.
That already exists. They already have rule sets. Once a rule set comes out, like if I wanted to go back to Sword and Shield and I wanted to use if I wanted to say, Hannah, let's battle, but we're not allowed to use like Torkoal or Incineroar or Rillaboom, there's a rule set I can just pick. It's like I don't know, like regulation like F or something, and then
I understand.
that rule
Yeah.
locks us both out from using those Pokemon.
I understand that. My question is that like Gen 10 physically wouldn't have these things that Champions does.
Correct.
So like that was what I'm saying. So like
Yes. I
okay.
think Champions is like nostalgia bait. It's getting those people who are like, man, Dynamax sucks. I love Mega Evolution. And then those people can come in and play Mega Evolution. And then ideally, hopefully, they try other formats. And then they go, actually, the new format, whatever that is, the de-evolution format or whatever Gen 10 is, they go, I want to try that.
Yeah.
And I can try some of that in Champions, but if I want to actually like attend a tournament, or I actually want to like customize my Pokemon even more, because I don't think Champions will have like the amount of customization that people are expecting, because it won't be better than Showdown. That's the real thing. That's I guess maybe
no.
that's one. It just won't be better than Showdown. That
The
they will
Pokemon
have
company wants a Pokemon to be a Pokemon and not a bunch of data.
Yeah.
They're not going to let you have sliders to change the IVs. That's never going to happen.
So I truly think that Champions is closer to TCG Live than anything else. It is just a marketing thing to eventually sell the final product they want to sell. Just like Mario Kart Tour sold, definitely helped sell more copies of Mario Kart 8, or Animal Crossing Pocket Cap definitely helped to sell more copies of Animal Crossing. I don't think it's anything more than that. I think it will be fine. I'm very excited for it. I think it'll be cool to have Mega versus Terrestrialization. I'm sure there will be a free-for-all gimmick where you got a Dynamax standing next to a Mega, standing next to a Terrestrialization. I'm sure that will be a thing, but I'm sure there'll be a Mega-only gimmick, a Terrestrialization-only gimmick, a Gem-only gimmick. I actually don't think a Gem-only... That would be Black and White. Like, I think those all exist.
Z-moves.
And I think there will be tournaments in Champions, but I all I see this as is we want to expand competitive people to get them to buy our next generation game. And maybe there is more success in that department where they put more work or something into it. But like the fact that Ilka is on it just seems like this is almost like a giant marketing platform to nostalgia bait old people who care about Megas or who care about Dynamax. But ideally, this is to push people to buy Generation 10.
Yeah, and I could see all of that being the case, but if all of that is the case, I don't think it's going to be at Worlds.
Well,
even once.
Well, Worlds had the very fancy Scarlet and Violet background that we never got, with like the fireworks that are happening during the battle and stuff. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. There's like a specific stadium in Scarlet and Violet that only appears for Worlds competitors because you have to use whatever build they have. And when I was in Yokohama, it literally broke the first match. It didn't work at all. And then they had to like reboot the match with the fireworks and everything. That never came to Scarlet and Violet, which is kind of a bummer. But you're right. I think they were on track for Gen 10 coming out this year. I think Scarlet and Legends Z-A probably should have came out last year because there was no game last year. And because Scarlet and Violet was so bad that they pushed everything, and that's fine. But if they were still on track, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? It would be Scarlet and Violet ends this year, Gen 10 starts in November, and then we have 3 years of Gen 10, and we do it all again, and there's a Legends game in between. There's a Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Totodile here. There's a Hey You Pikachu here. There's all these games sprinkled in between. I still think that Champions was being made. Like, I don't think Champions suddenly started getting made like a week ago. They heard my podcast, and they were like, actually, hold on. They were like, that's it. But I do see Champions as like not... I do see Champions as more of like, how can we expand our player base to then push them to buy more copies? And I'm very curious of what the paying situation would be, because even if it's like you can play Champions if you have a home subscription, who is playing Showdown every day that all of a sudden is like, yeah, I'll give them $16. They're going to continue playing Showdown. Mm-hmm. If you're a Pokemon Go player and you're like, I'm really falling out of Pokemon Go, but I really like GBL. I wish I could do something with all these Pokemon I've earned in the last 8 years. I don't know if I want to spend $16. Like, I don't know if, like, I can't see them putting a $40, $20 price tag on this and then expecting new people to
I can't
play.
see them putting a price tag on it either. I'm just scared of the microtransactions.
Yeah, and I don't like... Is that costumes for your Pokemon? Is that costumes for your character? Is that like new stadiums? Like,
do you want to terrestrialize? $1.99.
Would you like to max the IVs on this Pokemon? $5.99.
If they keep it to cosmetics, that's probably the best case scenario.
Put pink suit Psyduck in the game. I'll play it.
I think though also, there is an appeal to being somewhere like a doctor's office and being like, oh, I can just run a quick VGC match here, versus like needing my Switch.
That's why people use Showdown a lot of the time.
Well, also Showdown is like 5 times quicker than a normal.
That too.
Like,
But being
like,
able to do a quick Pokemon battle on your phone, I've seen people do it for that reason.
Yeah. I've talked to people at the Pokemon Company. They have no problem with Showdown. They know Showdown exists. It's not a secret. Showdown has been around for a while. I mean, Showdown is if you break everything down, Showdown's just a calculator. That's all it is. It's just a calculator that has 2 Pokemon off to the side and health bars. It doesn't make any money. I'm sure if Showdown tried to make money, then the Pokemon Company would have a problem. But
yeah.
it's just a glorified calculator, which maybe is, I guess, ultimately Pokemon is a glorified calculator. But when you think of like, I guess I'll end on this because we're going too long. But when you think of like, how can we sell more than 24 million copies if that is what we just hit for Sword and Shield and for Scarlet and Violet? I think this is a way to sell more than 24 million copies. I think we're really going to try to capture the Pokemon Go audience because it's already on the phone, and we already know that Pokemon games on phone is very influential. We saw this with Pocket. and I think they tried that with Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it really worked. I mean, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, I think sold 13 million. It sold about the same as Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. So
that's that.
So I think like when you have such a big market of players, which is the Pokemon Go audience, I think it's easier to convert those players than it is to find non-Pokemon players and get them to buy your game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah,
like
you're
it is probably easier for me
player
to convert people listening to the podcast saying, hey, if you give us $5, we will give you a bonus 30 minutes at the end of this podcast versus like trying to advertise just the podcast as somebody who's never listened to it, because the barrier of entry is much higher. The people listening to it want more. The people who don't listen to it are like, man, these guys talk for 2 hours. No, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, sorry. Last thing, I think it comes out this year. I think for sure it will be playable at Worlds. They seem to love having a game playable at Worlds, and they also like Worlds to be like a convention, like an event. Like even if you don't care about competitive, you are still there for the spectacle. So I think it will be playable at Worlds, and I do think it comes out either a little bit before or a little bit after with very limited Pokemon, very limited rule sets, and I think it only comes out on Switch right away. I don't think we get a mobile and Switch release at the same time. But I think we get one of the. Well, maybe they'll do mobile first. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't think.
I feel like mobile is more complicated to program.
Switch is more. So there aren't as many Switches in the world as there are mobile devices.
You know, that's a good statistic, Bobby.
Yeah. So I would guess they're gonna start. They would want to start with something that they have more control over, which is like one Nintendo device, than however many different Android, iOS devices versions that are being run, like all of those things. I just feel like they would try the game on the Switch first.
Yeah, but then they're not going to
mobile.
get the whole phenomenon that happened to Pokemon Go and Pocket.
I don't know that they need the phenomenon in the same way as Go specifically. I still think there will definitely be a big jump to it when it is released on mobile. Well, for instance, like didn't Pokemon Unite come out on Switch first and then it came out on mobile like a couple months later?
I think you're right. I think it came out on mobile a month or two later. Yeah. Unless you were like early. I think there was like early access where it was like you could do mobile at the same, like earlier than not. because I do remember some people playing
Who,
on
like,
mobile.
lived in New Zealand or lived in,
Yeah.
quote unquote, lived in New Zealand. Yeah, I feel like they came out at separate times.
2 months.
2
2
months
months
difference.
earlier on Switch.
And Quest was the same way, because Quest is a game that was on Switch and on iOS and Android.
Shuffle was the same way. Shuffle was on 3DS
And,
and
yeah.
then it came to mobile.
That came out different times. I just feel like it makes more sense in that way for them to release them at different times, because, again, the Switch amount of Switches is just less. But also, if they were going to have it at Worlds to play, like, I would guess that you would be playing it on a Switch at World.
And sorry, I have to say this, otherwise the YouTube comments will bring it up. We saw Mega versus Terrestrialization in that battle, which cannot happen normally. And we also saw a Hisuian Samurott, which came from a totally different game, Legends. And then we saw an Aegislash, which is not in any of the current games. Well, it was in Sword and Shield, but like current, which would be Legends and that. So I think that was very intentional. I don't think that was like an accident. I did run a damage calc. There was only a 30% chance that Charizard survived that Aqua Tail from the Dondozo. So for the Charizard to Mega Evolve after only having a very small amount of HP was a bad decision. In my you were very lucky you survived this. There was a 70% chance you just got KO'd. But slightly confused on the order of operations for that battle.
The YouTube comments were going to bring that up?
No, the YouTube comments were going to bring up that we didn't talk about how there's Terrestrialization, Mega, Samurott, and then Aegislash.
Right. Yeah.
Which was definitely intentional.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing for competitive. I'm very excited for Champions. I think it's a super good thing for competitive. I think it's hopefully I think the thing I want the most is almost like a way to teach people how to battle, and I think when you do separate things out, I think you can do that a little bit easier.
Historically, they have not been good at it, though. So that's high hopes right there.
Right. I think that's hard to teach. I really do think it's hard to teach. And I don't
try.
Yeah, I know. I think they should try. But even with TCG, I think TCG does an okay job of teaching in live or PTCGO. But again, I think it's just really hard to teach. Okay, let's take a quick break and then we'll talk about ZA. We will be right back. This podcast is brought to you by Hims. It can be hard for men to deal with hair loss even though it's common. Secrets are still a thing. They should still be a thing. And sometimes you just want to do something for yourself without announcing it to the world. And that's totally okay. Through Hims, you can restore your hair by accessing their personalized hair loss solutions. The great thing about Hims is there's no insurance needed and one low price will cover everything from treatment to ongoing care. You can choose from personalized chewable, oral, spray, or serum treatments that work best for you. And Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted opinions and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride or minoxidil to help regrow hair as in little to 3 to 6 months. You have enough things to worry about in the world. Hair loss should not be one of them. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/PKMNcast. That's HIMS.com/PKMNcast for your personalized hair loss treatment options. HIMS.com/PKMNcast. Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. And we are back from our break. Legends Z-A. We finally saw it, scheduled for release. This is a press release Scheduled for release in late 2025, first revealed on Pokemon Day 2024, Legends Z-A is set in Lumio City, where the urban redevelopment plan is underway to shape the city into a place that belongs to both Pokemon and people. After arriving to Lumio City, players will befriend a Pokemon that will become their first partner Pokemon, Chikorita, Tepig, or Totodile. Players can catch wild Pokemon living in wild zones or out and about in Lumio City by aiming their Pokeball and letting it fly. Some Pokemon will flee immediately if they spot the player, meaning players should hide out of sight or approach from behind to make themselves harder to notice. Players can also battle Pokemon to lower their HP, making them easier to catch. In previous Pokemon series titles, Pokemon actions were turn-based. In Legends Z-A, trainers and their Pokemon will move around in real-time battles, and Pokemon will unleash their moves when their trainers command them to. New gameplay mechanics include precise timing for swapping out Pokemon or using moves, the different lengths of time moves will take to launch, and the total area the moves will impact. While visiting Lumio City, players will stay in a hotel named Hotel Z and encounter the hotel's owner, AZ, and his partner Pokemon Eternal Flower Floette, an unusual Floette that holds a black flower. This hotel will serve as a base of operations as they experience all sorts of adventures in Lumio City, alongside new and exciting characters as Urbane and Tawny. I probably said both those names wrong. A new friend players will make throughout their adventures. The appearance players choose at the beginning of the game will determine which of the two they meet. I'm just assuming if you pick a boy, you'll get the girl rival, and if you pick a girl, you will get the boy rival. That's going to be my guess. A Mega Evolution returns, and yeah, that's the press release. That summed it all up. We got nothing more to talk about. That's great. So see you in November. We'll start with Hannah. Where do you want to begin? And we'll go from there. What do you want to talk about the most from this trailer?
I think this confirms that Pikachu and Eevee are Legends games.
Wait, are you trolling me right now?
No. I think it does. I think that all of the game elements that we are seeing evolve as we have more Legends games, another Legends game, link back to Pikachu and Eevee, and what we thought Legends Z-A might be isn't exactly what we thought it was going to be. It's not historical.
I feel like when you say that Pikachu and Eevee are Legends games, which warms my heart, makes me very happy that you are now on board, on the choo-choo train that is, this is our third Legend game. I think what stood out to me was them actually knocking out the Pokemon completely and then being able to catch it.
Yeah, they're doing it. We wanted that.
Yes,
we talked about that exact thing, and I'm so excited.
And it always, I've told this story before, but it always reminds me of a casual Pokemon friend I had who, they don't buy every Pokemon game. They saw the hype of Sun and Moon, so they bought into Sun and Moon. They haven't played Pokemon since like Yellow or Crystal or something, right? And they were just so frustrated. They were like, I brought it to 1 HP. I put it to sleep. It's not staying in the ball. Like, this sucks. And I just remember knocking out like Mewtwo or Zapdos or Moltres in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. And I was like, this feels so cool. Like, I have to actually battle them instead of like, I need to bring
holding
my sleeper.
Back.
I need to bring my false swiper. Like, let me have a epic, cool battle with them, and that's memorable. And then let me catch them afterwards. And I agree. I think that's one of the more exciting things they actually showed off.
Maybe the most exciting thing for
really?
me, at least. Yeah. To be completely honest, I'm a little bit disappointed that it doesn't seem like, I mean, it's not a historical game, but that's maybe for the best.
Yes, it's very obvious. Yeah. Well, I don't want to say very obvious, but he gets his Floette at the end of X and Y, and he has his Floette
it's a future
here.
Game. Yeah.
So I don't think anywhere in the 3,000 years he was like, oh, we met up for a couple of years and then she went away again.
Yeah, no, this is a future game from the story that we know up to this point. I'm just hoping it does have a good story of some sort, because I guess despite what I said, I feel like Pikachu and Eevee didn't really, not in the same way that Legends Arceus did.
You didn't cry when that Cubone?
I mean, that's not a whole...
It was like a cute moment. No, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm hoping these new games have a good story, and they look good, and they have the catching mechanics that I want. So, yeah, it looks cool.
Bobby?
Yeah. No, I agree. I am looking forward to the battle mechanics of like having to like being able to dodge and things like that. I think that's cool. Having those, just having it be different. I mean, it's very similar to how Legends Arceus was different. So that's exciting. I do like that it's not historical, not because I didn't like, I liked that Legends Arceus was historical. I liked that took place so long ago, and it worked very well for that game. I think a game that takes place in this like city, like in a city scene rather than like out like in the open like Arceus was, I think it'll be cool to see that not historical, just to have it be different than how Legends Arceus was. So I think I am very okay with that. I think the decision to have 2 of the starters be from Johto is it's a choice for sure. I don't know how I feel about the starters. I do think I have a clear winner for which one I would pick, because I'm not really a Chikorita or a Tepig fan. So, yeah, but I don't know. 2 Johto starters is odd. Like, what? There's so many starters. There's so many regions. There's so many starters. Like,
Yeah,
why
I
2
was
from the same region?
genuinely expecting Nivey.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many. I don't really think on this podcast we focused a lot about like what the starters would be. I think when people asked me, I was just like, I just think it's going to be Fennekin, Chespin, Froakie, because they deserve Mega Evolution.
Yeah.
I still think it's weird they don't have it. I do, obviously, there's no doubt in my mind that those 3 Pokemon will be in that game somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
But everyone was wrong. Like, no one predicted
no one-
2 of the
2.
same generation, which is like really fun. Like, it's almost like I know for sure Pokemon Company, Game Freak, they listen to fans, or they at least acknowledge that. I don't know. Listen, maybe is we hear you. We don't care. I don't think they. I don't think they specifically did that to be like, we'll take this. We can do whatever we want. 2 Gen 2 and 1 Gen 5. Like, how dare you think we have a pattern here? But I think the thing that I actually really thought about was like, there wasn't an actual reason for Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott. Like, the professor brought them over, but he didn't specifically say like why these out of everything else got brought over.
They were just
and I could be wrong. But I couldn't find anything anywhere.
I think that thematically their evolutions went well with the game, and so that's what I've been looking at with our new trio here is how can their final evolutions thematically work with the game as we're seeing it at this point.
And thematically, I think it can work. I think when you put 1 Gen 5 starter between 2 Gen 2, that Gen 5 starter gets so much hate that they are not a Gen 2, right? That they, being
going.
this great, cute little pig, turn heel into an actual villain. And I think thematically that does work. We saw John Cena turn heel for the first time last night in 19 years on WWE. It is Tepig's time to turn heel and become the bad guy. And I think thematically that is correct.
So what happens when you pick Tepig? You're the bad guy?
Correct. You are the villain if you pick Tepig. We want a Mega Tepig or a Mega Emboar or whatever, a Calosian Emboar. I don't know what they're called. I don't know what they're gonna do. We want that to be a dark type. We want another bad guy wrestler.
I mean, going back to the Pokemon stuff.
It's like, let's move away from the wrestling.
No, I move away from the show wrestling. Yeah, I did actual wrestling. I don't know how that stuff works.
I see.
But thematically, these 3 Pokemon's final evolutions are some of the less humanoid final evolutions. Not fully non-humanoid, because Emboar kind of is still, but they're the less humanoid ones. So that's the one thing I've been able to kind of draw a line between. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
There's the whole link between nature and humans that is happening as part of this game that kind of ties into Zygarde.
right.
So maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know.
I think they're very good at breaking patterns, right? So you have you have as early as like everyone, myself included, thinking Pokemon Gray was coming, and then Pokemon Z was going to come after Pokemon X and Y, and you had all these people saying, well, it has to be from Gen 5 and Gen 4 and Gen 2, like what combination? And they didn't do that. So I to assume that these are going to get Calosian forms, like only one game did that. And they already broke the pattern of the starters. So, like, do they get Calosian? Am I saying that right? Calosian forms? I don't know how they would.
I always pronounce it like
Calosian?
Calosian, like Parisian.
I knew this at one point.
Calosian.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Yeah, I always just like.
So like, do they get forms, or do they get megas, or do they get both? Have a different form and then also mega evolve.
I thought it would be kind of cool if the starters get Calosian forms, but the like original Gen 6 starters get megas. So like we end up seeing like a mega Greninja, mega. Well, I can't think of the names of them right
Chestnut.
now. Delphox and mega Chestnut.
Yeah. And like, they already don't have like Charizard got 2 megas. You know,
Give it a
Greninja
third.
could get a third. Greninja has its Battle Bond form, and the other 2 didn't get anything. So it's not like they need to. They haven't fairly treated all of these Pokemon equally.
Oh sure.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. First, definitely. Definitely.
So I don't know. Does when Greninja Mega evolves, are they just going to say, well, it's pretty much Battle Bond Greninja, or would they give it something new? I think I would think they would give it something new, because Greninja is just incredibly popular, and it will get the Charizard treatment. I don't really know what I want. I made the joke about like Emboar becoming a heal, but like I would like to see Emboar like Emboar's a wrestling themed Pokemon. There's like no doubt about that, obviously. But it would be cool to see that. I mean, the typical stereotype with wrestlers is either they're a good guy or a bad guy. Fighting would ideally make you a good guy, and then Dark would make you a bad guy. That's why Incineroar is known as the heel Pokemon. So naturally, I do think I made a joke about it, but I do think that's the most logical switch, is the good guy becomes the bad guy. So that's like the most interesting thing to me as like a wrestling fan. For Alligator, I think for Alligator's super cool. I've always thought for Alligator was super cool, so I really don't care what they do with it. I don't care if it gets a form change or a mega. I've always been on board with for Alligator. I think Meganium is relatively a very weak designed Pokemon. I do like Chikorita. I'm not a huge fan of Bayleaf or Meganium. I think the obvious thing for Meganium is for it to be Fairy Grass. And whether that's a Mega or whether that's like a new form, It's not exciting to me. And I'm sure it is exciting to some people, and I'm very happy that you're excited for whatever Meganium becomes. But you're probably not excited about like the Embor thing because you probably don't care about wrestling. So I do think it's very cool that like it almost feels like they have like these 3 little marketing pods that they're like, we're gonna reach these people with this Pokemon, we're gonna reach these people with Meganium, and we're gonna reach these people with
they're kind of
Totodile.
the niche starter Pokemon.
Yeah, they're very niche. And then like we'll definitely get our Greninja fans back with whatever we do with Greninja. Like
Well, like I think I'm not like I'm one of many here that is a big Rowlet fan. So to have Rowlet be a starter in the last Legends game, and then all of a sudden to see it had a different form when it evolved into Decidueye, like that was really exciting. That was great. So like the fact that like there's potential at least for like these 3 to get something, to have something happen, or even just being starters in another game, right? I mean, every Pokemon is a favorite of somebody.
that's
Every Pokemon is a favorite.
no one likes
of
the middle
somebody,
evolution of Gothitelle. Ain't no one.
Oh, I'm sure there's someone.
Every Pokemon has someone is a favorite to somebody. And so I am excited for while these 3 Pokemon, like none of them are my favorites. Like I said, I do like Totodile quite a bit, but I am excited for everyone that is now excited for these starters. I just still think it is weird that they went to Johto and won Unova.
I think the worst thing they can do is a Mega Totodile. Sorry, I'm saying Mega Totodile, but I think you all know I mean Mega Feraligatr. A Mega Feraligatr, or a Mega Meganium, or a Calosian Meganium, or like the worst thing they can do is keep it the same type. Like I think what makes Mega Ampharos so cool is it gets the dragon type. I think that's what makes Mega Charizard so cool. Like, I think if they just did Mega Charizard with flying and fire, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, like, the fact that the other Mega Charizard is Dragon Fire was like, dang. Like, that is the most popular. That is the more popular one. Like, let's not pretend it's not. Mega Charizard X is significantly more popular than Y. But, yeah, that would be my worry, is they don't do anything that exciting. And that would be a legitimate letdown. I think everyone listening would be like, "Oh, Mega Feraligator's just pure water." Okay, I guess that's fine. Like they gave it Intimidate now. I guess it's competitive, but Intimidate would be good. I don't think we have a water Intimidator because everyone wanted Quaquaval to be the water Intimidator. Oh, we have Gyarados, but not like pure water. We have Gyarados. Mm-hmm. Incineroar is a very good competitive Pokemon. We want Mega Incineroar, and Mega Incineroar becomes then fighting and not dark, and then he's the
Incineroar?
Baby face.
Why is Incineroar in this game all of a sudden?
Steve just likes Incineroar.
They didn't show Incineroar. Where when Incineroar's not on screen, you should be asking, "Where's Incineroar?" Can I complain real quick?
Please.
Like graphically, I don't think the game looks very good. I think it looks very colorful. I don't think it looks great. And does it look better than other Pokemon games? I don't really know if it looks better than Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. I think texture-wise, it has like more textures, and I think it's doing textures better than Scarlet and Violet. I think you can do a lot of things better than Scarlet and Violet, honestly. But I know there's a difference between like art style and graphics. And I didn't like Legends graphically, and I didn't like the art style of Legends either. That game is very brown. That game is very muddy. That game looks very blurry.
The game is beautiful.
And
I
don't
agree
know
with
what to
Bobby.
tell you.
Yes, it is a
Like,
beautiful game. It's
and-
just not bright and
and-
colorful in the way that you want it to be, Steve.
Right.
Beautiful.
It's
And
still a
before
very
you-
pretty
and
game.
before-
There's so
and bef-
many games that
And
visually look better.
Nope. I don't even want to hear it. Before you go and say, have you played these games? I'm not saying it's like better looking than a PlayStation 5 Pro style game. I'm saying that
I
as
don't want to be
far
that guy,
as
but there's PlayStation 3 games that look better than Legends.
there are, and I agree. I'm not comparing it to other games in that way. I'm saying when I look at this game, I think it looks good. I'm talking about Legends Arceus right now.
Oh, I know.
Not ZA. I'm saying I enjoy the way that the game looks. I enjoy that, like, the art style of the game. I enjoy those things about it. So I'm not saying this is better than whatever. Like, I'm just saying, like,
the art style of Legends was also just perfect for the game that it was.
Yes.
It feels very
I
historic.
agree. I think the art style matches what they're going for. I'm just saying I'm not a huge fan of it. Just
That's
like
fine.
I would probably say I'm not a huge fan of like the art style of Sekiro.
As long as you're
That's
clarifying
fine.
that it's that you're not a huge fan and
I-
not that you're saying that it's bad.
I don't
No,
like
I'm
when
not,
people
I'm not saying
are
the
like,
art style is bad. I'm saying the graphics are bad. But like,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm just saying, like, I don't like when people are like, when someone says something like, oh, I think this game's beautiful, and then they're like, well, have you ever watched Planet Earth in 4K on a 8K or on a 4K TV? Like, no, that I'm not trying to compare it to something. I'm just saying, like, the game itself, I think this game is beautiful.
Let me be clear. I do understand graphics are important to a lot of people. Graphics can make or break people's immersion in a game, whether they want to buy a game, whether that game appeals to them. Like I like colorful games. Legends Arceus, I think we're all in agreement, not very colorful, very brown. But like
Alabaster Icelands is not brown. Alabaster Icelands, plenty
You got
of
me
dark
there.
blues and whites and light blues in that level or area.
a little bit of brown here and there.
A little bit, but
So I never want to come on the podcast and be like, graphics don't matter, shut up and buy the Pokemon game, because it does matter to people.
Yeah.
And I think the easy argument, and I think it's a valid argument that people bring up, is these games sell 20-some million copies, and there are games that sell 1 million copies that look visually better. And I think that's totally fair and 100% valid point. I've always said, since 15 years of doing this podcast, Game Freak has not been the best coder. Just look at Base, Diamond, and Pearl. Doesn't run very well. Has a lot of issues. Look at how broken Gen 1 and Gen 2. Like, they're not the best development team. When I think of really good graphics, I do think of something like Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo Switch. I think that game is by far more gorgeous than Legends Arceus or Scarlet and Violet. Now, I understand that one is on rails and one is a semi-open world or open world game, and that matters. I understand that matters. But I don't think it's... I think it's very fair for a Pokemon fan to say, why doesn't these games look better? Look at, even on the same system, the same franchise, look at new Pokemon Snap. It's very easy to say, like, look at the new Monster Hunter that came out. That game is gorgeous. Yeah, totally. It's on the PS5. It's on PC. I get it. I'm just saying, I think the graphics look fine in ZA. Not bad, not good. I think they look fine. And I think it's okay for you to say you're excited for the game and the graphics look fine. And I think it's okay for you to be excited for the game, but also want the game to visually look better. And hopefully when it comes out, it does look better. Or we can have the Sword and Shield situation where there's a tree that everyone complained about, and Mr. Joe Sarabi said, it's an early build, they'll definitely fix the tree, stop complaining. And the reason he makes that joke every year is because they didn't fix the tree. The tree looked exactly as it did in the final build that it did when everyone complained about that tree. And he makes a joke about it every year, but he was wrong. They never fixed the tree. And that is why people make fun of him for the tree. And I'm glad he now embraces it and makes a joke every year. But, like, man, you were wrong. They never fixed the tree. So, like, I want it to look better. I don't think that's a huge ask, but it's fine. If it comes, like, I do think it looks better than Scarlet and Violet. I do think it looks better than the old Legends. But I like the art style. I do think it's, like, more colorful and more fun. Like, I really like the trainer models. I like their outfits.
It's
they
kind of like Scarlet and Violet mixed with Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah, it's really hard to say because I know it's using the Scarlet and Violet engine. I know for sure it's using that engine, but because the trainers look older and they don't look like chibi like Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, but they feel like more fluid.
Yeah.
It's like they look fun. I don't know how to say, like, they just look fun to be around, which makes me exciting. Makes me excited that, like, it looks like I want to explore this city, and I think that makes a good trailer to be like, I want to know more.
Steve wants to stop in and have a drink with Jet and Vinny.
Please, but not that lanky ZA dude. I'm not sold on him yet. I wasn't sold on him in X and Y.
To clarify, his name is AZ, not ZA.
Oh yeah, sorry. ZA is his brother. We haven't been introduced yet.
I will say there's a screenshot here on the website from the video that they had showed, the trailer, of a couple conchers in like a pond of water.
Yeah.
Water looks good. The water looks good in this game.
The standard video game test. The water look.
Well,
the water was
remember,
really bad in Legends.
you
both can't even defend that.
No.
Okay.
It was really bad.
Forget Legends. Do you go catch a Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet that you catch in the water and let the Pokeball go like under the water when it catches it? It
was worse in Legends.
awful.
It was worse in Legends.
It was worse in Legends.
I mean,
It's bad in Scarlet and Violet, though. You're right. It is bad.
It is bad in Scarlet and Violet, but it was worse in Legends.
yeah.
So
Well,
it's like
hopefully
4 pixels.
Yeah.
You could count them.
It was really bad.
that's the style they were going for, though, in Legends.
No.
Bad. Just kidding.
Very legendary, yes. Look, I feel like there is I feel like there is a slight disconnect for me. I'm looking at the screenshots, the official screenshots they look at with the Pokemon and the new rivals, and they look pretty good. They look better than fine. And the trailer just kind of looked fine to me. So I do hope that is like, early build. We're going to polish things up. They did they did polish things up in Sword and Shield from the early trailer to the final. Not that one tree, but they did polish some other stuff up. But like the Bunnelby, the Mareep, the Mega Charizard X, they look so good compared to like the background. And you could maybe say the same thing for Scarlet and Violet. Like you could see the fur or the scales on Seviper. Not the fur on a different Pokemon, the scales on Seviper. And that when you looked up close, they did look good, but then they're standing in like a muddy, grassy area in Scarlet and Violet.
That's totally the thing with Scarlet and Violet. When you look at the Pokemon up close, even like when you're taking a picture of them in Scarlet and Violet, if they're up close, they look really, really good. But the moment they're like 5 feet away from the character, it's like, what is that?
How do we render this?
Yeah.
I'm glad Hannah brought up the catching. The catching looks good, looks great. Another complaint, really weird complaint. I don't. During the trailer, you see an Onix battling a Pyroar, I think.
Yeah.
And that battle looks fine. It looks like there's visually what's happening behind it is way more than like Scarlet and Violet. Like you have a statue, you got bridge, you got water. Like they're trying to like fill the world, which I think Scarlet and Violet didn't have. A lot of empty fields, a lot of trees. But the thing that bothered me about that was the size of the Onix. The Onix was as tall as the character. And
It's taller than the character. Just not by a lot.
Maybe it's a baby.
I'm
Onix.
looking at that part of the trailer right now.
But do you remember in like Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, when you ride an Onix, you're just on top of this towering Onix, and it was so cool. And even when you Onix is one of the first Pokemon, if not the first Pokemon you encounter in the wild area of Sword and Shield. And and they made it big, and you're like, whoa, an Onix! Look how big! You can't miss it. It's so big, and you're like, let me battle it. And I'm really hoping that was supposed to be an extra small Onix.
Baby Onyx, that's all. It's just a baby Onyx.
But it did take me out. Like I think Pokemon size is important, especially when the last game size was one of the things you could catch. I'm not saying we
Interesting
need alpha
that
Pokemon back. It doesn't look like
Yeah.
alpha Pokemon are coming back, and that's fine. I expected that to kind of be a one game thing, but that was not a normal size. Not
I'm surprised, not surprised, because you obviously probably went through the trailer multiple times. You also were streaming it on Twitch, and so you had, you were
thanks for
analyzing
advertising Twitch
it.
for me. Yes.
But the the time that the Onyx came out, the thing that distracted me more from the size of the Onyx was like that mechanic of how you were like that trainer was switching a Pokemon mid like move happening and then dodging the move and then striking back. And I think that's really cool. Like we talked about this earlier, but like the battle mechanics I just think are really cool. But like in watching that, I was honestly like the size of the Onyx was not like my main focus at that moment. It was like, oh, that's awesome. They just switched out the Pokemon like mid move, dodged a move, and then like struck back. And I think that's awesome. But also like, yeah, let's have good sized Pokemon.
Yeah, I didn't think Agile Strong Style was going to come back, and
No.
it should have came back. It's thematically, I guess it's fine, but like mechanically, it was bad. It was
executed
really
well.
easy to take advantage of. Some moves were just like, I mean, maybe talking we talk about like how the competitive team might have more focus in the last section, but it felt kind of like the competitive team had no. Well, I mean, why would they?
Yeah.
Like there was no competitive in that anyways, but I still thought it was really weird. Like moves like Stealth Rock didn't do what they normally do, and like moves
Yeah.
like moves that should hit multiple Pokemon don't hit multiple Pokemon, and that was one of my complaints.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
awesome in the
Was-
ZA trailer that did hit multiple Pokemon. Like
Yes,
it was like
during the
Earthquake or
Garbodor
something.
fight.
It hit everything. It was great.
Yeah, so I always thought that was weird. Of like, if you want people, if this is their first Pokemon game and you want them to get in competitive, and then like Stealth Rock isn't doing like Pokemon has always added or took away new moves, or like some moves do exactly the same thing. They're just named differently, or abilities like Turbo Blaze is the same thing as Mold Breaker. So you can now hit multiple Pokemon. Moves have a cooldown. So if you look, all the moves have a specific cooldown. And then the Mega bar also has a cooldown. You can see once it Megas, it's like cooling down. And I think my first impression was like, I don't hate this, but I also don't care. I say that because I think we said it earlier in this episode. I was a big Final Fantasy fan. I played 7, 8, 9, 10 for a little bit. You know, those are all turn-based games. One of my favorite games on the Switch and the 3DS was Bravely Default, also turn-based. Loved Persona 5, even though that game is way too long. Turn-based. I really genuinely like turn-based games. I did play some of the Final Fantasies after they switched from turn-based to action, and it was okay. Like I did enjoy Final Fantasy 15. The story kind of got me through that game. It was open world, but I just stuck linear to the story because the open world I didn't think was very interesting, and I had a good time. And I kind of feel that way with Pokemon, where like I did like Legends Arceus. I did like rolling. I did like the catching. But like the battling, even though there's only like 7 battles in the entire game, I was just like, it's there to like move you along. And I think this is better. It almost reminds me of Final Fantasy 14, where all your moves are on a cooldown and you're like
Yeah.
moving in between. And I did
Yeah.
really like Final Fantasy 14. But I don't know. I went back to Legends like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I just want to walk around and pick up stuff, and everything's attacking me. And like if I go down the hill the wrong way, I die. Like, why is there fall damage in this game? Like it made it. It's not like when I think I loved in Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet just like going around and picking up stuff and like, oh, like this Pokemon is shiny or this Pokemon has a mark. Let me catch it real quick and then go back. And Legends just doesn't have that. There's just like, you just can't stroll through Alabaster Icelands without like a Ghastly being like, how dare you be here? I need to attack you. And then beep, 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 and you're like, I just want to walk.
In a lot of action games, I feel like there's that thing where either your character can get to be such a high level that the little things no longer really bother you at all, or like you can fall off a cliff and don't sustain damage for one reason or another because you fly or something like that. And it looks like you might be able to do that in ZA too. Kind of. The Rotom phone picked them up and flew them between the rooftops. Yeah.
Weird. Yeah.
But you couldn't really do that in Arceus. Everything still always went after you.
That's true.
Regardless of how strong you were, regardless of where you were at in the game.
That is, I will say, like, I also went back and played Arceus a couple weeks ago, and now I'm not comparing Arceus or Pokemon at all to Zelda, but I am going to say, like, there is parts of Zelda where it's, like, nice to just, like, take a stroll through, like, the parts that are, like, not the, like, parts where things are all attacking you, you know, and you can kind of just, like, run around near the stables, and you can do stuff, and
I mean, I think what you're describing is, like, exploring.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to explore.
For sure. And, yeah, that was, like, I went into Legends thinking, like, listening to the music that we had talked about on the Nintendo Music app and thinking like, like I just want to go and like explore and do that. And then, you know, to Steve's point, like, and you're like, oh no, and now the music's changed and now I'm all stressed and stuff. And it's like, no, I just wanted to like peacefully walk around, you know? So I just found myself flying everywhere because I was like, well, at least nothing's attacking me up here and I can listen to the music and I can kind of soar around the area. Maybe I'll see a shiny pop up or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely, there was too much of that in Arceus, too much like of everything just wanting to destroy you.
You know, I when Legends Arceus first came out, I was very confused of people being like, I don't like this game, minus the competitive people, because like I totally understand if you care about competitive, you bought this game, you'd be like, oh, there's nothing here for me.
Volo is here for you.
But I kind of, after taking like a long break from it and going back, I was like, I get why people don't like this game. Like I like Legends Arceus, but like I totally get like if you like the turn-based thing, if you just like going up and down through routes, if you like not every 10 seconds a Pokemon is like, how dare you enter my line of sight? Let me start like water blasting you. Like it is a very different game.
Yeah,
it's very actiony. And if you don't like action-based games, it makes sense why you wouldn't like Legends Arceus that much. Because
it was their first take at an action-based game, and I'm excited to see this as kind of their second.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like, there's not a lot of doubt I have of this being just better than Legends Arceus. Like, I always like to think that every Pokemon game is better than the next, because they learn from their mistakes, they add more features, they correct things that were kind of annoying or tedious before. And I think overall they've done a very good job of that over the years, minus like the frame rate in Scarlet and Violet and stuff. But like when I saw Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, I was like, there's no way this is going to be better than Sword and Shield. Because Sword and Shield was out at the time when they announced that game. And it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. But I think like when you look at this, there's no reason why this would be worse than Legends Arceus. Like, they would really have to mess it up. And unless, like, story-wise you like Legends Arceus more, or you like the style of Legends Arceus more, I would assume that I would assume this would be everyone's favorite Pokemon game if your favorite Pokemon game was Legends Arceus. Like,
right.
that would at least be the very... Like, I don't think anyone's like, how dare this be better? Like, everyone wants a better game.
I mean, like, I hope that we actually get a conclusion to the end of this game, unlike Legends Arceus, where we're just Hisuian now. We're just a Hisuian resident.
Yeah, you know, they didn't do anything with that. Was it Ingo or is it Emmett? I don't remember which one. Like, there was no...
I think it was Ingo.
There was no, like, solution to that.
Yeah, you and Ingo. Hisuian residents together.
Yeah, you know, a Gen 5 in Pokemon GO, Ingo in Legends Arceus, Gen 5 TCG cards coming out later this year, and no Gen 5 announcement. I said
Yet.
last year. I said no Gen 5 last year. That was all the rumors. I said the rumors again, Gen 5 this year. I said no Gen 5 this year. I literally said no Pokemon game last year, and I feel like I was the only person that was saying that. And there was no Pokemon game last year. And I don't think there's going to be Gen 5 next year. Like, I think that the rumors will start up again of like, oh, this will be the year for Gen 5. I don't think so. I think that they're going to spend all of next year focusing on Gen 10. And they're going to market it just like they did with Sun and Moon, where they spent the entire year marketing it. I think they even did that for Sword and Shield. They spent the whole year marketing in Scarlet and Violet. They want the whole year. They want Gen 10 to be good. Now we know that Ilka is working on Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Home, and Pokemon Champions. Mm-hmm. Who would be making Gen 5 at this point? Like, Game Freak is making Legends Z-A and
Select
Gen
button.
10. Like,
Select button making Gen 5 remakes.
They're like, you did so well with Pokemon Sleep. Here's Gen 5. And I would assume after Gen 10, we would get DLC for Gen 10. And then maybe at that point, Gen 5. Like, I know some people were like, this is a 15-year anniversary of Gen 5, which I think is technically true. And they did a game for the 15th anniversary of Diamond and Pearl, which is true, but Auras didn't come out on the 15th anniversary. Auras,
right?
Like, I don't think Heart Gold Soul Silver came out on the 15th anniversary. I think Heart Gold Soul Silver was like the 10th anniversary or something. I think Auras was 12th anniversary. So I don't know. It just, you can't say you want. I mean, you can, but you can't say, like, please take your time and then be upset when games are not coming out fast enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't have both.
Also,
I don't think anyone wants Ilka to touch Gen 5.
To be fair, I don't think it's the same people that are saying, like, take your time, that are also saying we don't have enough games. But it all gets mixed into the...
You would be surprised. I mean, I think you're right, the majority of people, but there are definitely some people that are like, they're not doing games fast enough.
Yeah.
I think overall, I think the trailer was like good, but I didn't really have like a lot of takeaways from it. I was just like, oh yeah, they showed some megas. Yep, it's the city. Yeah, the zones. Like, it was the first trailer, so I get it. I'm sure they'll show new mega evolutions. I'm sure they'll show a new Pokemon, and I think that's when I'll be like really excited. Like the trailer.
Yeah.
Like doesn't mean I hate it. I thought the trailer was fine. I'm very excited for ZA. I told y'all it was going to come out in fall. I think the reason we didn't get a date, and I think if you only play Pokemon games, this doesn't make sense to you. I think if you own a PlayStation or you own an Xbox or you're a big PC player, I think this makes 100% sense. I think the only reason we didn't get a date is because of Grand Theft Auto 6. Mm-hmm. I think every video game company out there is waiting for a release date for Grand Theft Auto 6 because they do not, it doesn't even matter if it's like a completely different game. No game wants to come out the same week as Grand Theft Auto 6. Mm-hmm. And you could say like, well, Steve, those are like Pokemon is a kid's game. Grand Theft Auto, I'm not even going to say what you can do in Grand Theft Auto. But even though they might be separate audiences, which gamers are gamers. You're allowed to like Pokemon and running over people in Grand Theft Auto. You're allowed to like both. But marketing wise, you want to be in the news. You want to be like, this game sold this many copies. This was the biggest release at this. Pokemon breaks records. You're not going to get any of that news when all of those news organizations are being like, Grand Theft Auto is the fastest selling game of all time. It's the biggest game of all time. Servers went down. The highest concurrent on Steam. Like, I actually don't think it's coming to Steam right away. But you know what I mean? Like, you lose the news battle when you're competing against Grand Theft Auto. I keep saying 5. I'm sorry, Grand Theft Auto 6. Sorry, I had Gen 5 on the mind.
Don't worry, Grand Theft Auto 5 has been a thing for like a decade. So,
I think that's the I suspect a November release. I suspect they want it before Black Friday. They want the Christmas sales. That's very important. I don't know when Grand Theft Auto is supposed to come out. I don't know if it's September. Good. if it's November. I don't know
don't
where
think-
Pokemon moves.
I don't think they know when Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out.
Right. But like,
They say this year, but I don't know if they even know for sure.
but yeah, I don't think anyone wants to be the same week. Maybe you want to be the week before. I don't know if the week after is any better.
Yeah, maybe different months. Like, I don't know that you want to be anywhere near that release, really.
Even me as a streamer, like when Grand Theft Auto comes out, I think I just take a week off streaming. No one is going to watch anything that isn't just like Grand Theft Auto. And I'm not going to be streaming Grand Theft Auto, but like it almost reminds me of when Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like everyone just wanted to play and watch Tears of the Kingdom.
Didn't we have like a bit of a theory that like the DLC, that's why the DLC was like later than it was going to be, than we thought it was going to be? Because it came out like, because Tears of the Kingdom came out. There was something where I was
think
like,
that was your theory.
I think it was a good
Bobby's
theory.
had a track record of being wrong on this show. I've been
Whoa. That is not... Okay, first off, I did not say that there wasn't going to be a battle-only Pokemon game by any means. I just said it was more likely that Scarlet would be continuing than like them doing ZA or Gen 10.
Yeah. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm going to update my LinkedIn that I was right multiple years in a row. I'm sure that'll...
Please.
Yeah, I think Grand Theft Auto is a serious reason why we just didn't get a date. And I'm sure we'll get another trailer in like April or September. The other thing I said is they weren't going to mention the Switch 2. They didn't mention the Switch 2. I do think Legends will be a Switch. Well, I mean, they did confirm it'll be a Switch 1 game. But I don't think there will be I think it will run better on the Switch 2, just like how Sun and Moon ran better on a new 3DS. But I don't think there will be a separate Switch 2 SKU, and I don't think. I think it'll run better, but I don't think it'll be different. Other thing is like ZA is not open world. If it was open world, they would have said it was open world. We've talked about this before. When your video game is open world, you make it a big marketing point that it is open world. You tell people that's just what goes on the box. That's a very important selling point of an open world game, is to tell people it's open world. I think that's fine, though. I have no problem. I have no problem with Legends Arceus being zone based. Like, you cannot go to Alabaster, Iceland at the start of the game. That means it's not open world. In Legends Arceus, in Scarlet and Violet, you can go up to Grusha. You can walk up that mountain. You can battle Grusha as soon as you get past the tutorial. That is open world. Obviously, once you beat the game, you can go wherever you want. Once you beat Red and Blue.
Is it still open world now that we have Blueberry and Kitakami?
Well, like with like Grand Theft Auto or like Infamous or other open world games, them adding a different area is still.
This is
like,
all just.
But in like Grand Theft Auto, you have to like still, like if I want to go to one area. Oh, I guess, yeah, I see what you're saying though. Like they did, they did add stuff where like you do have to like, you don't get to fly there. You have to like,
I think
do
like,
something that just puts you there.
I can't remember the last Grand Theft Auto. Whatever had like the Ballad of Gay Tony, which was like DLC. I think that was like a whole different.
10 years ago.
That
Like
was like Grand Theft
12
Auto.
years ago.
I think that was 4.
That was 4. That was 4.
Yeah, but I think that puts you in a whole different area of the.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto.
Map.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto Online, Grand Theft Auto 5 is like that. There are things where you can't, but most of like when you play Grand Theft Auto, if I want to go from one city to another city, like I have to fly the whole way there, or drive the whole way there.
Jump a car over a ramp.
Yeah.
I remember in Grand Theft Auto 3, there was an area I couldn't get to, and it was like, well, let's structure these cars here, and then if we hit this car and bounce off, we'll make it over the bridge, and now we're in this new area.
Yeah.
Like there are parts in Scarlet and Violet where you ideally need climbing or Koraidon to have upgrades to get somewhere, but there are also other ways to be like, well, if I go to this part of the map, I can jump it versus this part of the map, or if you jump backwards with Koraidon, you can like climb up.
Yeah, you can climb up backwards. Yep. Exactly.
If there's one thing that's consistent, gamers are very good at going where they're not supposed to in a video game. If you have found out how to get to the ice area in Legends at the very start, please let us know. But I think you have to pretty much progress through the story to get there.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do 2 more minutes before we end the show, and then we'll do our bonus section here of anything we missed, which is a lot of stuff. But the secretary guy for Quasartico, Vinny, he definitely has a Mega Rayquaza, right? His beard is the same as Mega Rayquaza's face, and he works at Quasartico, and Mega Rayquaza is the Quasar Pokemon.
Wait, I'm trying to find his picture right now.
His beard is the same as Mega. Yeah. I feel like the story already feels pretty predictable, right? It would feel like the corporation is trying to maximize money and revenue because it's a corporation, and Zygarde is trying to protect the nature of Pokemon. And so at a certain point, the corporation is then interrupted by Zygarde. If you didn't watch the Magearna movie, as there's danger in Kalos, the Zygarde cells will come together and then form the Power Ranger version of Zygarde, which I would assume that the bad guy, maybe the bad guy isn't Vinny or the Jet, I think her name is.
Yeah, Jet.
But I would assume it would be like the corporate overlords versus nature is the general theme of this story, which is like fine. There's no way he doesn't have a Mega Rayquaza though. His face is Mega Rayquaza.
Maybe he is Mega Rayquaza.
We can only hope. I think the Mega Stone is hiding in his like hair bun under the little Baneri, which I really like his design. I really like his. I think he's one of the coolest designed characters in a while. The Vinny guy. I would like to see new Megas. I would like to see new Pokemon. I'm sure we'll get that in the next trailer. Give me Mega Incineroar. Give me Mega Cramorant.
There's no either of those are going to be in the game.
Cramorant could be in the game. What do you mean?
You know what? I'm not going to go against you here. Who knows?
I'm not. Don't put that on my track record. I'm not saying that Cramorant's being added. I would like him to be added. Don't put that like. I'm sure a lot of people will want Mimikyu to be added, but who knows? The only thing that matters is they added Patrat. And that is where we will end the show. Patrat is back. If you would like to listen to another 30 or so minutes, you can subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/PKMNcast. You will get the premium feed. That means that we'll just roll right into the bonus stuff. That's been going really well for us. Same for people who subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Look, you guys got like an hour 45 out of us. We went over again. We always go over, but if you want a little bit longer, there's a bunch of stuff we haven't talked about. I do want to talk about TCG Pocket a little bit, maybe a little bit of Sleep. Maybe I have a couple more thoughts of Z-A. But if you want bonus stuff, stay tuned after the credits. If you're subscribed, you'll get the bonus stuff. Anything we didn't talk about, we will definitely get to next week. I think this episode has been very fun. I always love when Hannah and Bobby give me pushback. I think this happened with like Greg and Will. None of us hate each other, by the way. We just we all love each other a lot. Sometimes we just have opinions, and we stand by our opinions, and I think that's very important to stand by what you think. So very happy with this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Bobby. Stay tuned for the bonus stuff if you were subscribed. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
The only Pokemon podcast that predicted Pokemon Champions, thanks to Steve. Effective.
I told you all! In regards to this, which leads to the title of this video, which I probably named something like Bulbapedia has lied, or Bulbapedia was wrong. And I do want to say, I love Bulbapedia. I know plenty of people at the Bulbapedia staff, and they're very nice. But there is an error on the website, and I'm sure we're recording this on